Metaphysics is going to have to be the quote-unquote religion of tomorrow. If it isn't, you're fucked. Totally and absolutely.
Hello, hello.
Yo, can you hear me? You hear me? You should. I just heard something.
I can hear you.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I don't hear Pinky anymore. Did you get muted? Did you get canceled for dinosaur bigotry?
I think he got canceled.
Just that quick. Son came in and got canceled. I heard a hello, hello, and now he's gone. But
Too much bigotry in those hellos.
yeah, it was. I felt like he was being a little bit insensitive. There was some toxic masculinity in those hellos. It was way too aggressive. Way too aggressive. Where'd he go? Either way, this is what happens sometimes. Technical difficulties. We out here though. We
It's
out
technology.
here.
Only
Yeah,
good when it works.
that's it. We out here. We in the we in the algorithm. We streaming live. We on YouTube. So whoever's listening, we absolutely appreciate you. And we about to talk some cash shit. There we go. I hear you again. You back?
Happy Father's Day, breeders.
Yeah. Happy heterosexual patriarchy day. Reclaim
You're
your.
reminding me that I pulled out not fast enough.
That's certainly a unique take on fatherhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the joys and responsibilities that come with it.
I mean, we did recently learn how dangerous those long, deep strokes are, so I don't blame you for pulling out.
Doobie don't want AIDS.
Right, right. You
That
can't.
look, listen, that was my
That-
problem the whole time with women. I've been long stroking them.
Yeah.
So now that I
fucked
know
up.
the secrets, I'm good
Yeah,
for life
dude.
now.
Yeah, I can't even tell you how lucky you are. You've been doing all this fucking grinding and loveful stroking, and you should be.
Go
late-
get tested just to be
Yeah,
safe.
I definitely has had the hand of God on my penis.
Just go get tested just to be safe. I don't know.
So we
What
starting
are
off
the
hot.
implications for God?
We
There's
coming
been
in
moments. There's been moments where I'm like, I should have caught something.
hot. Son said I had the hand of God on my penis. Well,
I want to see that televangelist pray for you with that prayer. And just grab you by the dick.
may the hand of God
Lord,
cup your
Praise this
genitals.
penis. Cleanse it.
Well, listen, there is a very peculiar section in the Bible that says if your balls get destroyed, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven.
Oh shit.
So if you happen to get into an accident or something and you destroy your penis and or testicles, that's no heaven for you, buddy. Like, what do we need you in heaven for if you ain't got no dick and balls?
I
to
know a
be
lot of us
fair,
are
to
going
be
hell for
fair,
jack off in general.
I think that's just to be in the tabernacle, or you couldn't be a priest.
Oh, okay. Because priests
That's old.
definitely need their genitals for sure.
Well, listen, if your nose, I think priests back then were fucking. To be clear,
If they're
Be-
fucking now.
right? Because you had to be of a certain tribe, the priestly tribe. So they were cranking out kids. They were banging. But I think like, and there was a whole bunch of stuff like if your nose was too big, if your
Damn.
ears were too big, which brings up a whole nother set of issues about that.
About the kingdom of heaven and the tabernacle. And I mean, listen, if you're not beautiful and fully sexually functional, we don't need you in these chambers because there's gonna be
Yeah,
some
you
shit
can't.
going on in here. You can't be fucking up the party, son.
You can't be the one to kill the goat. Fuck no.
So I know we got some hot topics, and I'm guessing the most robust one that we can start with today is the one I'm most excited to talk about because I watched, what's the guy's name, Matt Walsh. I watched Matt Walsh's How to Be a Woman last night, and I have to say, there's some very interesting concepts and ideas, very revealing. This is the kind of stuff I usually stay out of. I know trans people exist, and I don't really get into the politics of all of it. I understand wanting equal rights and not wanting to be marginalized in any way. I totally get that, and I agree. I think humans should be able to live their lives and pursue happiness however they want, as long as they're not victimizing other people.
I don't get it at all. Like, why do you want to be paid low wages and not respected? Like, I don't understand
No,
the
see,
idea.
that's not what they want, and that's not what they should have to deal with. So let me just go on record right now to say, if you're a person who's trans, I don't think you should make less money just because of the fact that you're trans, and I don't think you should be respected less in society. I think whatever.
But can I see some substantive data that that's the case?
Right, right,
If
right,
that was if that was happening and you showed me that, I would get behind you to rail against it.
Watch that language now. Getting behind trans
Well,
people to rail against
li-
something. I mean,
okay, well, I would listen. I would put the hand of God on your penis and make sure that. But I disagree. I think the whole thing, like, it's not about well, we don't want people marginalized. I feel like everybody's going out of their way to figure out how they're marginalized.
right.
And
Right.
if they're not really marginalized, there's some sort of like weird cool point hierarchy that awards you a real nice spot if you can justify that you're oppressed, even if the substantive statistical data doesn't support it. There's just something now that's very fashionable about being marginalized. So I think it's the opposite. I think the reason why all this shit is because, first of all, it's not even just the trans thing. We're talking about two-spirit, asexual, right? We're
Yeah.
talking about non-binary. There's all this litany of thing. I think we're in the triple digits when it comes to these things. And I do want to give a shout out to the LGBTQ plus community, because they have announced for June, the month of Pride, because they're embracing all these different sexualities, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, two-spirit, non-binary, asexual, your ram self, your demon self, your goat self, whatever it is, all the pronouns. They've decided to truly be inclusive, and guess what? They've announced publicly that they'll also be celebrating toxic masculinity as a valid gender and sexual identity.
I don't
And
know.
I
I don't know if
appreciate
that's
that.
true.
It's absolutely true. Everything I've ever said on this on this show has people have tried to fact check me. I'm unfact checkable. I don't say it unless I know it for a fact. And I'm telling you, in the spirit of inclusivity, because this is an organization that's all about including everything and everybody, all sexual identities and perspectives are valid. You got to put toxic masculinity in there. You got to put, because if you're a drag queen, right? Aren't you kind of hyper feminine? You're over the top feminine. We don't
Right.
throw that out. That's not toxic femininity. You're going too far with the estrogen mystique, right? No, there is no too far. That's a valid sexual identity, as is toxic masculinity. So shout out to Ezra Miller for bringing back toxic masculinity, kidnapping bitches, accusing women of being witches, brandishing a pistol, and running off with underage girls, just taking what he wants.
Right.
It's some
Sounds-
toxic masculinity.
Sounds like he's
Good for
taking
him.
some type of mind-altering drug, the way you explain it.
Nah,
No,
no. I
the
mean,
mind altering drug is testosterone.
right. Listen,
Listen,
listen. If
I
if
promote toxic masculinity, and I don't think I'm as toxic as these people make it seem like.
nah, listen, dude, get into the history annals of anything 18th century or sooner, and accusing bitches of being witches, threatening them with violence, and running off with women was the status quo. No one even batted an eye. It
Bro,
was men being men,
son
and
told a kid's parents that they would be lucky to have somebody like him guide the kid. Like basically, you'd be lucky if I could groom your child for molestation.
yeah, look, have you seen his house? He's paid. He's the Flash. And that's not just the name of
And
a
and and what
superhero.
is it with
That
Hollywood and finding these people like a fucking fly in a fly trap?
It's Hollywood, bro.
I think you kind of sign up to that. But when you open your trench coat and you got nothing underneath it, that's also the Flash.
Right,
So
that's true.
he's
That's
Flash.
true. This is
It all
true.
makes
He was
sense.
playing his part on
Look,
and off the screen.
I support him because if the only way toxic masculinity is going to be embraced is if you put on lipstick and high heels, Ezra's the hero. Ezra's the hero of toxic masculinity. Do not fire him. Don't you dare Johnny Depp him.
I actually liked him in the movie. He was pretty funny.
He's hilarious.
He was pretty good comic relief.
He's
He was
hilarious.
pretty
But-
funny when he choked that woman in Iceland too. He choked her by the throat and threw her on the ground.
It was a woman. I thought it was a
But
man.
he identifies as a woman.
Right, so
Or not
that makes it
there,
okay.
It's even.
See that right there? I blame women for.
No, women should be blamed for all of this. This is our
It's
father.
true, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, especially black women, because I find it hilarious that these homosexual gay men or whatever you want to call them, they're fun to hang out with. You could gossip with them, you can go shopping with them, but as soon as you piss them off and they want to fight you, now you want to look at me like, oh, you're gonna let this man fight me?
I'm gonna go out.
But before he was your homegirl.
Well, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that gay men abuse cis women more than cis men.
I think so too.
Because I've seen the video evidence. Gay dudes are a drawn bow. They are a hair trigger when it comes to whooping a woman's ass. They ready
Bro,
at
it
all
happens
times.
so fast. I'm like, you're about to fight a woman and you have no problem.
They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. And I'm gonna expand the blame here. I'm not gonna just blame black women, but black women did kind of create the whole. Well, when I was just to give you, just to give the buffer here, so I don't get canceled. When I was growing up, one of my aunts hung out with a lot of gay dudes, and she self-identified as a fag hag. That's what they
That's what I'm
called them
saying.
back then. A
Yeah,
fag hag.
that's a legit name. Yeah.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what they called themselves. So she loved it. Now, I think this is the fault of feminism in its entirety, right? Because men have been saying for a long time, you got weak little brittle bird bones. Don't ever step to me. Men should never hit women. We'll play basketball over here. You play basketball over there. And even that was after some progress. We was like, you can't even touch a ball. Your fingers are going to fucking crumble. But then eventually we let them play sports. But we said, you play the sports over
women
there.
in football is like, what are we doing here?
No,
What's
they can
going
play
on?
football against each other. That's awesome. But women said,
But I'm saying, but they
hear
want to
me
play with
roar.
us. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
No, dude. When you watch that footage of the first woman ever to touch a ball, and everybody just expects her hands to start disappearing into dust like the mummy, and it doesn't happen, and they're just so shocked.
That's real
not-
shit.
Go back to your point, Don. I don't mean
But
to cut you off.
they asked for it. They asked for equality. They asked to be seen as equal competitors in all these sports. We can do whatever you can do. Now, again, I have no doubt that a woman can perform against a man in intellectual shit. In a chess match, it doesn't matter. But in a boxing match, it might fucking matter. So, in their effort to destroy everything patriarchy, they don't want to parse it out. They don't want to say, well, this part's good, that part's bad. They say, fuck patriarchy, fuck the nuclear family, fuck men in general. We can do anything you can do. Okay, well, box Fallon Fox and get your fucking eye socket broken. This is what you got to deal with now. Get on the track field and get smoked. Get in the water and get smoked. Everywhere you put women against men, they're getting smoked. So, but this is what you asked for. You told us you were just like us. So now you're not protected in these places anymore. So you're going to have to eventually come back around and ask for forgiveness from Big Daddy. You're going to be like, Daddy, please protect me from.
Come back to the toxic
And
masculinity. Come
listen,
back.
and we've been doused in feminine culture at this point, so we're gonna be very unreceptive and hard to get. You're gonna have to work for it. You're
and
gonna.
by
It's
and by
not
work
just
for
gonna be
it,
benevolent.
and by
Yeah.
work for it, we mean bring some knee pads and a scrunchie. I mean, you know what the deal is. I'm sorry. Okay, you know what? Oh, I want Doobie to break down. He said he promotes toxic masculinity. So I don't fully accept, because I know a little bit about you. I don't fully accept that you are a willing and wanton, unapologetic, toxic masculine person. I want to
No,
know what you consider the toxic masculinity that you are willing to promote.
I'm all in all a nice guy. I normally get into the friend zone with women, but
Uh-oh. You just used, just before you go, you just used two incel terms that they wrap around the hatred of women. Nice
no,
guy
but
and friend zone. Those are two
I know,
red flag
I know,
terminologies.
I
Trigger
fall,
warning.
I
Trigger
fall in,
warning.
I fall into those traps because of just like I don't play like stupid little get in your pants games. You know what I mean? Like it's just if I don't have to have sex with you, I move on to the next woman and keep it moving because eventually along the line I'm gonna have sex with somebody. But I'm just saying like toxic masculinity is I think is pretty much stupid because you're basically saying that like all men have this toxic way about them. Toxic masculinity, stupidity is just us being stupid for like 30 years. And then when we finally figure it out, you're at the point where you're complaining. You're complaining so much. We don't want to fix it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
That's just
okay.
how I see it.
So what I've learned from studying this shit, toxic masculinity is objectively negative, destructive, violent, shit like that behaviors that men will accept because they think it's a natural part of being a man. So toxic masculinity would be like if you're standing around with your boys and a woman walks by and everybody starts catcalling, oh look at that fat ass, or I want to fuck that bitch, and they're not doing it because they're assholes. They're doing it because they think that's what men do. That's what toxic masculinity is. You attribute these behaviors that that's just what men do. No, if your woman gets loud with you, you slap her because you're a man. That's what it is. It's describing bad behaviors that we accept and perpetuate because we think it's just part of being a man. When it's not. It's not part of being a man. There's specific types of men who do these behaviors, but they pass it down to their sons and their sons' sons, and your uncles did it, and so you think that's just what a man is. So I think the
See,
real
that
thing is just
to
is
me
examining
that
this
like
shit.
that shouldn't be considered toxic masculinity. That's just to me that's stupidity. That because like I even tell women that too. Like they'll be like, "But what do you call a man that sleeps around?" I'm like, "He's also a whore." Like,
Right, but that's the thing. It would be stupidity if they were just stupid people doing stupid things, but they think they're entitled to those stupid things because they're men. That's what
Well,
attaches it to the
yeah, but
masculinity.
this is just another instance, though, of talking about right and wrong
Right.
and forcing this tribal lens to
Yep.
see it all through,
Yep.
and then say it's like, nah, it's objectively bad. You shouldn't do that, and this is what I will concede. There are a lot of instances, and it's more of an identity thing. It's more about a self-assured thing. It's more of a knowing who you are kind of thing. Because what happens is there are dudes that are like that. There's
Yeah.
dudes that are very alpha. They're go-getters, and they'll be the first to have the most confidence, and they'll shout out at a chick, and they will catcall. And for some people, if you're honest with yourself, you're like, well, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable about that. Something about that just feels disrespectful. I would rather just go up and talk to her, ask her name, or, you know, a different kind of approach. And I do think that there is a kind of a toxic effect in some things where you'll see dudes, there'll be groups of dudes, and dudes will be somebody that they're not because there's like this weird thing where you got to appease the dude that you see as the alpha instead of just being yourself, if
Yeah.
that's who you are.
Yeah.
So, and again, I will concede that there is a toxic aspect to it, and that it can spread and influence behavior. But really, it's a knowing who you are thing. It's a right and wrong thing. And just because of where we're at in the culture, everything has to have that tribalistic spin to it. So these are just negative traits that men have to accept. And like you pointed it out, if the gay dude wants to fight you because y'all been calling each other sister for 9 months now, you see each other as fellow girls, right?
That's on y'all.
Right,
Y'all
things
gotta duke it out.
escalate. Right, and now you want me to use that toxic masculinity.
Right.
And you could say, so it's dumb to call it toxic masculinity. It's better to say, yeah, being insulting or disrespectful or demeaning to a person who doesn't want that attention, yeah, that's kind of an asshole thing to do. I think you can come to that conclusion objectively. And if a woman is getting hit by a man, regardless of who that man fucks or doesn't fuck, it's irrelevant. If a man is beating up a woman and clearly that woman can't defend herself, it's a good thing for a man to leverage his strength to defend her.
Absolutely. And she would probably agree in that moment. But in other times when it don't work in her favor, it's going to be labeled as toxic masculinity.
And that's why we need to let sports just be destroyed. They never should have been playing sports. God did the wrong thing when he didn't turn their fingers into mummy dust immediately.
Right.
The moment the ball made contact, because you should not be in college unless you're smart. You shouldn't be there. College sports was a way for big, strong, dumb people who were never going to have a shot at a higher education. But they got their foot in the door and they beat out somebody that was smarter than them because they were talented physically. That was a pathway to get dumb dudes access to a better education. If you're a chick, nobody gives a fuck about any of your sports feats. That's just the reality.
Oh, he got canceled again?
Oh, see, he's talking now.
He
They
got
on him
canceled.
today, bro. They on him today. They not having it. They're like, what the hell did you just say? Did you just say abolish women's sports?
Abomin women's sports?
Dude, I'm about to add that to the title of the episode. Abolish women's sports. Let's see where that gets us. That'll definitely get us some views. Oh,
Cut him right off.
Right off mid-sentence, bro. The juice is on it today, bro. Oh my gosh, it's bad. It's absolutely bad. But I get it. I think that when you look at men's sports, right? There's even the people who are the lowest performers on men's sports teams are still leagues better than the average man who's sitting on the couch watching sports on the weekend. But if you take that over to women's sports, even the best of women in most of these sports can't compete with part-time athlete males in the same sport. So
That's
it's
just
like,
horrible.
what are we even doing?
That's just horrible. I'm like, if that's I'm assuming this has to be like a real thing that you're saying. That makes women's sports look real bad.
Yeah, dude. You know that
that's basically saying the female U.S. soccer team, which is one of a couple of FIFAs or whatever the female version of a FIFA is, has won a bunch of times. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's basically saying the male soccer team who loses all the time, they could never beat.
Oh, you check it out, but you know what? It's even worse. The reality is even worse. You want to hear the truth? The women's soccer team were beaten by a male high school team.
Oh shit!
Dallas soccer team of boys 15 and under beat the U.S. women's national team in a scrimmage. They got beat by 14-year-old boys. What are you doing on the field? Now, to be fair, I'd probably get beat by 14-year-old boys also because I don't play soccer. But what are y'all doing on the field as the national women's team if 15-year-old boys can beat you?
I don't know, man. At some point, you would think they would be hella aggressive and not lose from a bunch of 15-year-olds.
What can they do? What can they do? It's
like, I feel like if a bunch of old guys play 15-years-olds, like it's gonna get hella aggressive.
But those are dudes. Women don't have the option to become hella aggressive.
Like push the dude down.
They can try. You can try.
Maybe they were hella aggressive. We didn't
Right.
know this.
They were trying to injure the boys and shit, and they were just running right by him like, "What the fuck are you doing, yo?" I'm sorry, but that's just what's happening. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. I don't think it's cool to make fun of them for it. I don't think it's something that should be brought. But I mean, these are the women who are also saying that they should make the same amount of money as the men's soccer team. But the men's soccer
It's all
team,
about viewership. If you're not getting no views, then you're definitely not gonna get that much money. That's just the way I see it. I don't care for sports, period, women or men. So like I could care less. But if you're not getting the amount of people to watch your show, you can't tell me that I have to pay you the most. You know what I'm saying?
dude, I mean, listen, if you're getting your ass kicked by 15-year-old boys, I don't think you have the right to ask
Yeah, you
for more
just
money.
lost your pay raise. You
Right.
had your chance.
Right.
You had me right there. You won the FIFA. You did all that, and you lost to a bunch of 15-year-old boys. So like, no more. You're not getting no raise.
No, I'm docking your pay, bitch. And we changing this league to the bikini soccer league now. Fuck all
Yes.
that.
I love Fallon Fox.
You lost
I love
your
Leah
rights.
Thomas. I love those two bitches with dreadlocks in Connecticut.
That was
I
smoking
love
all
them
of
all. Listen, stop it. And this isn't to just bash women, and the universe conspired against me and wants me to stop this point. And that's why I know I need to declare it.
Yep.
You should only be in college if you're smart. It should be across the board. They made an exception because men love testosterone warplay. And there's a huge demand for sports in our society. Men do it objectively better than any woman. And this was a pathway. And then I get it. Women were like, well, I want to go to college and I'm not that smart, but I'm good at volleyball too. No.
No, you're not.
No. Stop it. No one cares. Nobody cares.
But
And because you allowed this to happen, you deserve everything that you get. Men will systematically destroy women's sports under the guise of equity and equality and inclusiveness, and you deserve it because it reveals an underlying biological truth that we are biologically compelled, just like we are to rape and be racist and all these biological impulses, right, that are there that we have to rein in and to become civilized, right? These chemical processes are driving us to be great, to kill and rape better than all the other tribes so we can protect you. That was just the ingredients that got us here. I'm not saying whether it was right or wrong, but that's the biological reality. And nature didn't need to make you great. Nature needed to make you attractive, durable, and compassionate to take care of the children. And we go and kill stuff. You're trying to unravel millions of years of biological realities and compulsions. Because yes, those realities haven't, we can call it toxic masculinity if you want. Those biological realities have resulted in men abusing their position and being unfair. But these are two different arguments. We can concede that there have been fucked up shit against women without taking away the identity of women to do that. And if those are the terms in which you're going to have the conversation, cool. You're not going to be getting any scholarships. The next rowing team, all women rowing team, will be all dudes. It will all be dudes with dicks and wigs, and they will have your college spots, and you won't have them. The female dorm is going to be filled with broad-shouldered, badass female athletes with dicks.
just
And
like
you're not going to get to college anymore.
the women's prisons are already filled with dudes with dicks. And they're getting everybody pregnant and raping everybody and changing the whole the whole climate in women's prisons.
They deserve to get every single woman in that jail pregnant just for letting them in. Just for letting them in.
They're working on it, trust me. Oh, they're working on it. They said they're overflowing.
Probably the most peaceful prison ever now.
It
But
is.
they
He
deserve-
needs to sleep, all braiding their hair and reading each other's stories, and everybody's calm. Everybody talks politely to each other.
Right.
And everybody wonders when, she'll be available.
And there's no more question about who's running shit. There's no more.
The
It's like when you have something I learned from having chickens, and not to compare chickens to humans, but this is similarities that you can see across different species. When you got a bunch of hens, the hens will fight and argue and peck each other and do all of that shit because they're trying to figure out who the boss is, and it's always changing. One day this one might be the boss, 3 days later another one's the boss, or whatever. But when you throw a rooster in, all the conflict is over. There's no more conversation about who the boss is because clearly the fucking rooster's the boss, and then he starts raping everybody.
and that's what happens when you put a dude with a dick that says he's a woman in a all women's prison because you indulge this reality. And why I'm so glad, because I wanted to see it, but I didn't want to give, I don't know, it's the self-hating Jew thing. I didn't want to give Ben Shapiro any money. I just didn't. I didn't want to subscribe to the Daily Wire. I'm like, they'll eventually, it'll be out there. It'll be on BitChute, or I can buy a hard copy. But you know what? Once I saw that, I'm like, yeah, I'm just done, dude. I'm just done. I've been feeling that way for a while, but I just think we just all have to be done. We just have to be done indulging this. It's just silly. We don't have to do it in a mean way. We don't have to be racist dinosaur bigots about it. But we can just say, yeah, just listen, show me the law in the books. What do you not have access to that you want access to?
That's what I don't understand either.
It doesn't infringe on somebody else. Like, I get it.
What are you guys fighting for?
Right, there's no transgenders that can eat at the Walgreens counter or the Woolworths counter or whatever. Like, what is it?
Like, you're not being stopped.
From water fountains?
To shop and buy and produce and
no,
work.
You know what they're fighting against right now? The grimace that they get in public when you see a dude with a beard and a dress and high heel shoes on. People are still like, oh,
that's your
God.
fault. That's your fault. That's your fault. I got married in the courtroom, and there was two tall gay dudes in there. And listen, I don't care that you're gay. I don't give a fuck. But if you're wearing Daisy Duke shorts and your hair and your legs are hairy, and there's some type of like odor coming your direction, I have to look at you funny.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but that's what they're fighting for. I think the feeling, the assumed emotion or mental judgment that comes with trans people. I don't think there's any. I mean, they got TV shows right now where drag queens have competitions against each other. Trans people have an entire competition TV show where they just do Vogue dances and fall on the floor and wear fancy fashion and shit like that. And they got another show called P Valley. I haven't watched it, but I've seen way more than enough clips on TikTok or whatever
big gay
Instagram.
Dude, beard and mustache,
big burly gay motherfucker.
Wearing tall, like they made sure they got him.
Wearing
like,
pink
you're
wigs,
gonna be the gay character.
pink wigs and shit, and he's got drug dealers, like big tough drug dealers. They run up on him and they like, "What's up?" And then they give him a BJ and shit. It's like, what the fuck is going on in this show? But at the same time, you can have that existence, you can have that representation of yourself all over TV, all over social media, but you still say that you're being objectified or marginalized in some kind of way, that you need to fight for your rights and you need to be super vigorous out here, and y'all gonna accept.
I don't know, bro.
It's deeper than just acceptance. Right now, they want you to capitulate. They want you to present your anus as a straight man to a trans woman, because that's what it means to accept us, is to let me go in your butt. I mean, that's pretty much where it's coming down to. I personally believe that the people that they showed in the What Is a Woman documentary, the people he was interviewing, okay, and this might be a controversial take, possibly. I think those people have angel of death syndrome. I don't think that they're realistically trying to help children by giving them vaginoplasties and phalloplasties. I don't believe if you're performing a vaginoplasty on a 10-year-old, I don't think you're doing that for their betterment. I think you hate the nuclear family, you hate patriarchy, you hate heteronormativity, and you're just carving kids up to troll and make money at the same time. Just like people go into nursing specifically for the opportunity to kill old people by overdosing them or sitting on a oxygen cord or something. There are people who go into medicine for that reason. They want to kill people legally. There are mass murderers who were so high functioning, instead of going out in the street and stabbing or shooting people, they said, I'm going to join the military. There are racists who said, I want an opportunity to kill niggers, but instead of joining the KKK, they became a cop. There's professions out here that lend themselves to some negative proclivities. And we've seen examples of this in all of these professions. We've seen people pop up in here, and some of them never even got caught. I think that's what these people are doing. I think they hate the idea of heteronormativity and the nuclear family, and their way of getting back at a system or an icon that turned their back on them and fucked them over in whatever way. This is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put kids on puberty blockers, and I'm gonna cut their little dicks off because I can. And I have a title. I got a diploma on my wall that says I'm a social scientist and all this other shit. And I think that's their way of seeding the future that they want to experience. Some people, like, okay, white folks are, a lot of white folks are afraid of this great replacement kind of theory. They understand that the more brown people, the more Mexicans, the more African, or whoever it is, comes into this country, their children and their children's children are going to change the political climate of the country, and they're afraid of that. They're like, they don't think that Mexicans are going to come here, get a taste of the good life, and become Republicans and vote alongside white people. They're looking at them.
They're gonna vote alongside right with them. Every single one of them.
They don't think that. They're looking at them and like, yo, these brown motherfuckers are going to change the country at a level that we can't keep up with because they're not going to vote the same way as us.
Man, they're gonna be the most Republican motherfucker. I could count on if I had $1 for every foreign motherfucker, especially Africans and Asians.
But that's the brown. That's what they're afraid of.
Republicans.
But I don't know why they're so afraid of it.
Y'all niggas had dictators for leaders, and you want to be a Republican?
or maybe not a Republican, just a conservative. But that's what's happening.
No, black people and Hispanic people, for the most part, are culturally conservative. Only 26% of I think they did the last poll, like Hispanic community supports Joe Biden in the current Democratic platform,
man,
or whatever. They're
always conservative.
It's a machismo culture. You gonna tell me like, yo, so this dude is a girl and this girl is a dude, and you want to cut dicks off and put cement plaster and patch up pussy holes, and what are you doing? What are we doing? Nah, man. And especially Cubans. Because when you say lived under a dictator, they do not see Republicans as the dictators. They're like, no, when you give the government that much power, like when you move to socialism, when you move to communism, that's when you get these dictators that pop up. And the Republicans aren't really Republicans. The Republicans are just there to basically go along with shit and pretend. It's controlled opposition. They don't really do shit, but sincerely conservative people, they don't want the government to have that much power, especially if they've come from like Russia or they've come from Cuba. They've come anywhere where there's a dictator. Yeah, that shit is fucking ugly and fucked up.
Yeah, I really do think after watching those people, I don't believe that they're sincerely in it to help children. I don't think they even believe that. Like, cause you could be delusional and think that puberty blockers and you giving children the same drug that you give child molesters,
castrate,
chemical castration drugs to children because you want to block their puberty. Some of the, there could be a place where you're delusional enough to think that this is helpful, but I don't think that's what's happening.
Like, you should have to be at least over 20 to do all those sex changes.
No, but
if you
wait till you're 20, if you're a person, if you're a little boy and you think you want to be a woman, if you wait till you're 20, you're going to be a man already. You're going to have a strong-ass jawline. You're going to have stubble. You're going to have a deep voice. So we got to stop it now so that you can look more soft and feminine as you grow up. We got to. Yeah, that's what they're doing.
That little boy is not making that decision.
No.
It's the adults around him at that point.
Yeah, they're seeding it into the kid's head. They're not being. It's not good parenting. No matter how you look at it, it's just not good parenting. If your boy says, "I want to be a girl," just ask him, what's a girl? What's the difference between a boy and a girl? I was talking to my lady last night while we were watching it, and I said, there's a real path, a real legitimate path to a boy saying that he wants to be a girl. And the simplest one that I could think of is how we socialize boys and girls differently. When your son falls, you tell him to get up and walk it off, brush yourself off, you'll be fine. When your daughter falls, you pick her up, you wash her knee off, you hug her, you say, oh, my baby fell, and all of that shit. If a boy sees that enough times, he might just equate that to I want to be a girl, meaning I wish you guys would treat me with more compassion when I hurt myself. That's a real conclusion a child's mind could come to. But if you're not probing and asking questions and paying attention as a parent, and you're one of these liberal blue hair motherfucker, lesbian single parent, whatever you want to call it, those
Cutting
people
dicks
say,
off.
yeah, well, let's just cut your dick off then. They don't
And
say
you shouldn't
well,
be allowed to have kids either.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They don't
I'm
they
gonna
don't
throw
ask
that in
what's driving this idea. What is it? They just say it's time to start buying him dresses now. And that's where
No.
we fucked up at with patriarchy being unchecked, is we said boys wear this color, girls wear that color. Boys play with these toys, girls play with those. We set these hard, stringent rules. So if a boy wants to play with a doll, does that mean he needs his penis cut off? If a girl wants to climb a tree, does that mean she needs a phalloplasty? Like, that's not what this is. But that's the cues that they're taking, because they're recognizing the binary that they're trying to escape is the truth of their psychosis. I want to be a girl. Why do you want to be a girl? Because I like dresses. So only girls wear dresses? You accept that in this condition, but when patriarchy said girls are supposed to wear dresses, you want to tear down patriarchy. But that's how it's stupid. It's all stupid. And I think the government and big pharma, of course, they're getting a lot of money off this shit. They said $70,000 is the floor price for getting kids on the puberty blockers, having
hold on.
sexual reassignment.
But lifetime treatment.
Oh,
when
man.
that chick was like, I had 6-inch hair growing out of my urethra.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder why. Because they turned your fucking pelvis inside out and folded it in on itself. And what the fuck did you think was going to happen? Who you think that's ever happened to anybody else? A dude just walking around in life and holy shit, I got 6 inches of hair growing out of my fucking piss hole.
But this is the problem is the fact that voice gets censored.
Right.
Look, I am all for the pro cut your dick off community. Like, go out there and make the argument. Listen, are you kind of unhappy? You really feel like you should have a pussy? Fuck it. Medical technology is advanced as such. We can make it look like a pussy. And when you look down there, you're not going to have a dick. Now, there's some other medical concerns that are going to pop up, and that's when the conversation gets cut off. You can't have that other voice saying, look, I got my fake dick. I was born with a cunt. I didn't want it anymore. I had them cut this skin off my forearm. They fashioned this penis, and they attached it to me. I got a little pump. It expands. It's the real deal. The real deal Holyfield here.
That is ridiculous.
But hold on. But she said it and I've had to go through 17 different antibiotic treatments.
Yep.
I've had 6 inches of hair growing out of my urethra. It's probably going to cause me to have organ failure and for me to die sooner. So, like, this was some fucked up shit. And she wasn't even advocating that, hey, I'm saying I don't want anybody to do it. You shouldn't do it. But you definitely shouldn't be encouraging children to do it. And you shouldn't be having this conversation unless you have that data as well. Like, yeah, you may feel more comfortable in your skin. These are some health concerns that could come up. But probably the most telling thing was when he was interviewing that one doctor, and she was like, yo, the way that you keep saying truth is going to make me end this interview.
Yeah.
Truth is condescending and mean.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you have an honest conversation with someone who's telling you, because the main focus of your conversation is to get to the truth of the matter, that automatically puts us at odds.
Yeah, I don't like it.
That it's a hostile conversation now. You're being condescending and mean-spirited because you're hyper-focused on truth, objective truth.
See,
And
that's
the
somebody
only realm we
clearly
can have
wants
this
to be
conversation.
lied. That clearly wants to be lied to. That's why they lied to
Or,
themselves.
like Don said, they're aware that they're lying, and they just really like, I'm going to chip away at the nuclear family however I can.
Yep.
Little tiny penis by penis, I will chip away at it until it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I 100% think that's what it is. And I think it started with things like, we were saying you could trace this back to women entering the workforce, right? And when they entered the workforce after all those years of oppression and unchecked patriarchy, the only way that they could function and be successful in the workforce was to mimic the actions and behaviors of men. They couldn't come in with their feminine ideas and be successful. So they had to put shoulder pads in their fucking jackets and wear pants instead of dresses and go buy a watch and shit. They had to pretend to be men. So once they started to pretend to be men, these women still want to be have dates and mates and they want to go, but they couldn't do it with other masculine men because those men wouldn't find them attractive other than to subdue them and turn them back into women. So who did they need to go on dates with? They created and pushed the idea of metrosexuals. Metrosexuals was the biggest thing at a time, somewhere in the 90s, maybe 2000s. I think it was around the mid 90s somewhere, where women primarily were pushing this idea that there's a new kind of man out here that we like. It's the man who shaves his whole body and plucks his eyebrows and has more fucking skin creams and shit than we do. And the metrosexual was made to be this new ideal of a man. And once that happened, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. And then you got the government removing homosexuality, body dysmorphia, and shit like that from the DSM. And if you ask me, another possibly controversial take, I think when you remove those things from the DSM, that's you leaving people out, you leaving them for dead. You're going to say, you know what, for all this time, we've been saying that this body dysmorphia, this is a mental illness. But you know what? It's not a mental illness anymore. It's just a way you can be. So just go live your life. Do what you got to do. And it's like opening the doors to a fucking insane asylum and letting everybody out.
They did that. They did that already.
I want to hear that conversation with the schizophrenic. It's like, you're
Right.
right. They have planted robots in your brain.
Those
and the
voices you're
only
hearing,
way you're going to
real.
live your best life is to drill it out and to seek vengeance
Right.
upon all of the people that put. You
Right.
have to cut off their heads, Harold.
Yep.
You have to.
And you know what that would do? It would almost indefinitely, like almost immediately, lower the population of schizophrenics. Because now you don't have care, you don't have treatment, you don't have people trying to work. Now it's just a way to be. Transgenderism, I want to cut my penis off. Well, that's body dysmorphia, and maybe we can help you. To, you know what? You're right. Do what you got to do. Now you got, these people commit suicide
Yes.
more after they have their surgeries.
Right.
So what does this tell you? Like we said, it's like the lottery curse. If the government really wanted to kill poor people, all they have to do is give them a bunch of money. Most of them would overdose and drunk drive and crash their car. They would kill each other to steal. Like, it would lower the population so quick. It's basically a soft ethnic cleansing. That's what it is. It's a soft ethnic cleansing to remove these things from the DSM and tell these people that you're fine. This is just a way humans can be, and society needs to adapt. They're killing themselves in record numbers. I think we should remove schizophrenia, dissociative identity disorder. No, he's not crazy. He identifies as 13 people, and you need to respect that and understand the pronouns and identities of each and every one of those 13
And
people.
not only that, and pass laws that if you hire him, you have to pay him 13 checks.
Oh shit! Everybody's schizophrenic now.
It's a wrap now. Shit.
I'm telling you, it's a soft ethnic cleansing. I feel like this is the easiest way, with the least force, the least, like, you don't have to get SWAT squads to go round up gays and throw them off roofs like they do in the Middle East. All you got to do is let them out into society, let them create their own turmoil, and record numbers of them are going to commit suicide anyway. Most of them are not going to breed. Some of them are going to get fancy, and you're going to get a gay guy that donates some sperm to a lesbian couple. Some of them will. But for the most part, they're not going to breed. If they do adopt, for the adoptions are like overflowing with children. So then maybe they'll start taking children. Nope.
Ban them from
No,
that.
because the children aren't being adopted, right? So what are you going to do? Heterosexual couples ain't adopting children. Not at that rate. The people who want them the most are gay, transgender. They want them. They want them, right?
You know, they want them to fix them up and change the dynamic, bro. They don't want them to, like, have a happy childhood.
Of course.
It's ridiculous.
So
I don't know.
my lady's mom she cleaned houses. She cleaned like rich people's houses and shit. So she cleaned a house for this gay couple, two gay dudes, and they had adopted a son. My lady's mom got fired from that job because the son started to become extremely clingy with my lady's mom. So whenever she came around, she's supposed to just be cleaning, but the kid was hugging on her and
And that hate that,
it,
that
it wanted
they hated
he wanted
that
a
the most.
right. He wanted a feminine presence, right? So imagine the resentment they have when they see their own kid being attracted to the feminine presence of a woman. Because I'm sure one of them saw themselves as the mom, right? It's very likely because they still arrange themselves in a binary, even when they get into
Even though
a
you're a
homosexual
homosexual
relationship.
couple, somebody has to be the woman.
Right.
Makes no sense to me. No
Right, they
sense.
arrange themselves in the bottom. I've seen
sense.
video of butch lesbian women disparaging and yelling and making comments to two what they call lipstick lesbian, real femme types hanging out with each other and not responding to the advances of the butch lesbians. They were calling them bitches, these lipstick bitches. Like, why can't they just be with each other? No, one of y'all got to be
the
like me.
worst qualities of a man.
Right,
By the way.
with none of the strength. You're still gonna
They were
break
displaying toxic masculinity.
with the brittle
all
bird
the
bone.
negativity, none of the strength.
Yep, bird bone,
look,
toxic
I mean,
masculinity.
and not to, so I understand, because this is what this all comes from, is the desire to be compassionate. And our compassion has been weaponized against us to disagree with patently dumb, insane, unsubstantiated horseshit. Like, but at the end of the day, like, the drive behind it is the desire for people to want to be compassionate. And I can't empathize with somebody because I don't think, some people may be traumatized and, and get confused about their sexuality. And I'm sure there's some people who are just born and that's how they are. I'm not trying to figure it out. And it's I could care less. Like, what you do is what you do. But I could understand, like, when there's no public acknowledgement of it, like, how do they, because that's really what it is this desire to have some sort of acceptance and community, and if you're that ostracized because it's not normal at all, even to the point that people are afraid of it and hate it, and fathers disown their sons, and parents get up, I could totally understand people being, hurt and needing some sense of community and having some sort of resentment. So I get, out of compassion, we want to say, look, we're dealing with divine principles here of feminine energy and masculine energy. So it makes sense to me if there's two dudes whose biology says, I want dude, right?
Right.
This is a biological, chemical, like we talked about, men can only get aroused for what they're aroused for. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough, to fake it. It's hard to fake it till you make it. But if we say, okay, you guys are exhibiting a masculine and a feminine energy, yeah, that's in the context of their bond and how they deal with each other. But sexually, biologically, yeah, it's dicks and testosterone, and that's that. And I don't know that you could do anything about that. I don't know that you could pray that gay away, that you could chemically alter yourself in any way that would change how you might be hardwired. Those 4, DNA amino acids or whatever, however they're lined up and programming the biological you that makes you, that might be the case, right? So out of compassion, we don't want to say, well, those people are doomed to a life where they're always ostracized and they're hated and they're not accepted, right? So I just think we got to make it clear, like, on that end, when, like, that's a different conversation of saying, no, these are human beings that should have their place in society.
Right.
But the problem is you're attaching that compassionate, objective good and just being good humans to each other. You are conflating that and tying that to also bring your 7-year-old to watch a man dressed as a woman with his titties out dance for dollar bills.
No, they
your
clearly
6 and 7-year-old should see that.
They're clearly doing the most. It's ridiculous. They're clearly doing the most, but that's just the whole ideology of being gay. They're doing the
but you shouldn't expose children to any
I completely
sexuality.
agree. I completely agree.
None.
With that. Straight, normal, whatever. Like, I completely agree with that. Kids need to be around kid shit. But
let's be clear.
It's crazy to even put kids into the equation. Like, why?
Absolutely.
The reason it pisses me off a little bit is only because So like they have like all of these ideologies, or it's in me, it's in my gene. I don't know why, but we also have to put in the equation that some of y'all got raped by somebody you shouldn't have got raped by, and you've been confused ever
And
since.
most definitely. But what I'm saying is, when we talk about pride and parades and why shouldn't kids know that these people exist, you could go to a parent teacher conference and Benny has two dads, right? And say, well, most families are men and women. Some families are two mommies or two daddies. That's it. It's the only thing
I've
you need to explain.
I haven't
Like,
experienced that yet, but I think I was
well,
like
well,
start laughing if
well,
that.
no, no, no. But what I'm saying is, because the argument is, well, what happens when this comes up, right? So on one extreme, people say, well, I don't want to have to explain that to my children, so I don't want you to exist. I don't want you to be open about it. I don't want you to be around. I don't want to share a community with you. There are some people that are hardline like that. I acknowledge that they exist.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
think that represents the majority of people. But the argument on the other end to justify stripping for kids is, well, what happens when you ask that question, right? You don't want us to exist. No, people need to know that we exist and that we're accepted in the community. Cool. But when you go to a gay pride event, we are not celebrating acceptance. We are explicitly celebrating sexuality. This is why people are dressed up in leather and assless chaps and fake dicks, like Christina Aguilera had like an emerald encrusted dildo. Like, it's
Yeah,
a kid friendly event. I'm gonna sing
that's
songs with this big fake dick.
that's
Well,
not even about a movement. That's about
right.
having sex.
In any other universe, you're exposing children to explicit sexual material that used to be a felony that would really be embarrassing. So if it was an event educating that, yes, some families consist of two men, some families consist of two women. That's not what it is. It's not about accepting an acknowledgement. It's about putting sexuality on display. And if you did that in the reverse, hey, we're going to have a toxic masculinity parade. We're going to fuck bitches live on floats. We're going to club them over the head. We're going to grab them. Their naked bodies will be exposed to the world, but we're not really going to bang them because that'll be illegal, right? We'll just simulate it. We'll just have like really overt sexual dances, and we'll be very explicit about how toxic masculinity is expressed. You'd be like, yeah, that's called like a sex convention that's 18 and up. They have those. They have those where you can inject your scrotum full of saline because I guess it makes you come harder when your balls weigh 18 pounds.
Oh
They have
gosh.
events like that, and children are not allowed, where you explore kinky sexual shit. But don't sell kinky sexual shit as a celebration of community and acceptance. That's the fucking problem. So our compassion is being weaponized against us so that we say, I want to be a compassionate person. Cool. In order to do that, you got to expose your children to some overt sexuality that you would never do in a heterosexual setting. You would never bring your 8-year-old daughter to a bar and say, listen, dance in this two-piece and men are going to hand you dollars. She's not naked. It's innocent. She's 8. She doesn't know. We just played some rave music, and she just went around in, little cute, adorable high, platform shoes and her two-piece bikini and picked up dollar bills. But Desmond the Amazing does it, and we're like, yo, that's brave. I'm glad we're accepting that. No, you shouldn't sexualize children, period. What are we talking about? And if sexualizing children means that's the only way to demonstrate that you're compassionate and you want to welcome people into the community, that's irreconcilable. There's no conversation that you can have. There's no open, honest dialogue for reconciliation and compassion and community that you can have when you've thrown all that shit into the pot. No way.
Dude, this
No,
all comes
I agree
from
with it.
academia. It comes from academia. The guy that they were talking about in that thing, Alfred Kinsey, he's still hailed as some type of genius in his study, and a lot of the shit that he said and wrote is still being used in colleges today. This motherfucker wrote something called The Sexual Behavior in the Human Male. Right? So he, first of all, he did an interview, a 17-hour interview with a person who was having sex with children and animals and all kind of shit like that. This motherfucker said all orgasms are outlets and equal between husband and wife, boy and dog, man and boy, girl or baby, for there is no abnormality or normality. That's what he said. So he said children are sexual and potentially orgasmic from birth, from womb to tomb, and are unharmed by incest, adult child sex, and often benefit thereby. So this is the person who laid the foundation of everything the academics and people are teaching and their women's studies. And Kinsey and the other dude's name was Money. That was the one who did the experiment on the twins where they freaking cut one's ball bag off and his penis off and turned him into a girl, and the other one left him as a boy. They both ended up dying. One committed suicide because he just wanted to sexually experiment on these kids. They was doing some wild shit. I mean, we know that the whole pharmaceutical medicine, they was doing some crazy shit for a long time, but this is like particularly egregious. One, because it's somebody using the guise of science to do sexual experiments on children, but also because nobody decided to just throw it away. Nobody said, yo, this motherfucker was a pedophile, this one slipped through our fingers, let's just burn everything. They were like, no, let's make it the basis of women's studies. Let's fucking quote him when it comes to how we try to reshape society into a more compassionate and accepting. And like you said, I get it. We should be moving to a more compassionate and accepting society. But you go from unchecked patriarchy to unchecked feminism, and we right back in the same boat. Maybe even worse.
It's the vanity of being smart. That's all it is. I know some shit you don't know. You think boys shouldn't fuck dogs and men shouldn't fuck children?
Well, the data that tells you otherwise.
Listen, I respect your unenlightened view, you racist dinosaur bigot, but I have happened to stumble across some literature, and there is learned men who have done experiments and they've done the research, they've crunched the numbers, and you're wrong. And so if you want to be smart and everybody around you who is supposedly smart cites these things, asserts that these things are legitimate, like you said, they don't just throw it away. Well, now it's just like the dude who's like, I kind of want to talk to women and know their names and treat them like people. He hears the alpha cat calling, like, I don't want to be a pussy, I don't want to be gay, let me just go ahead and take a sip of this toxic masculinity and shout some shit out disrespectfully that I don't feel comfortable doing. It's the same thing. You're a bunch of smart people and you want to be smart. You have all your vanity and identity attached to being smart. And this person in a fucking bow tie and a corncob pipe and a tweed jacket or whatever the fuck with the patches is like, no. We got to fuck kids, fuck dogs, whatever, man. It's what we are. I've done the numbers. You don't want to be the idiot who's like, nah, that don't seem right. It's like, well, maybe this isn't the place for you, stupid.
You just got left out. You missed out on the party. It's absolutely
Fuck
ridiculous.
That,
I think anybody of sound mind, especially if you're not guilting yourself into accepting stupid shit as truth, because it does suck that patriarchy and the society that we lived in decided to oppress people for so long because they didn't fit into this really thin list or set of rules and regulations and shit like that. That does suck, and I really do believe that the lack of balance is what got us here. But the same thing happens when you go the other direction with no balance. One, you have too much. You get a puritanical society where if a woman shows her ankles, she's a slut, and you got to burn the witches and all that other kind of shit. On the other side, you have men having sex with babies and like, no, the baby liked it, trust me, because that's the unchecked feminine side who's just like, well, maybe the baby did like it. We've that this is what they do, bro. Like, the best women, I'm not talking about the broken ones, the fucked up ones, the best women that you're gonna find, you have a child with her, your kid is gonna do something where you're gonna want to say, nope, nah, we gotta discipline, and she's gonna be like, but just don't be too hard on them. Like, that's what they do. It goes straight to emotion, compassion, and if that's left unchecked, before you know it, your son is 10 years old, sitting in the house with his feet propped up on the table like, where's my fucking sandwich? That's what you're gonna have. because there's no discipline. Nobody's there to be like, yo, what the fuck did you just say? Like
Bro,
nobody's there to put no fear in them, no
my
to establish the boundaries of respect, nothing like that.
my stepson, see, I see kids how kids are. In other words, like they're gonna say things just to say because you're repeating it to them. So, like for example, for what you're saying, my stepson was like, I forgot what it was exactly, but basically, we're just gonna shorten it up. He was upset. So, my wife, my ex at the time, she was like, basically, what do you want to? What, you like stuff girls do? Is that what it is? And he's just like agreeing to everything she's saying, not realizing he's a kid and that's what he's doing because you're consoling him. And then I walked in, I'm like, this is exactly why dads need to be in the fucking picture.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
kid is upset about something and you're leading him to give him answers and he's just agreeing to what you're saying. You're doing it wrong. Find out why he's sad. Don't ask him, do you like what girls do? He's just saying yes because you're consoling him and giving him attention.
Yeah. You need balance, man. You need balance, and I think a lot of men in society today still don't want to share the control or the balance with their wives. I think a lot of, or just women in general, a lot of them just think the whole idea of compassion and softness is just stupid, and you don't need it, and everything can be fixed with a fucking slap in the ass and a kick in the
There's
balls.
a time and a place for everything. That's how I see things.
Right, but we got to be balanced. We got to be able to consult women sometime. We got to be able to, and vice versa. They have to be able to see where discipline is more important right now, and like let daddy do his thing, let him talk his shit, let him threaten his sons and shit like that to keep him in line, and then eventually you can go console him later on and tell him whatever you need to tell him. But there has to be a balance. You can't just either side being unchecked and out of control is going to fuck people up, and the signs of how fucked up they are going to look totally different. So like what patriarchy did is because of there's so much infrastructure, so much business, the roads are paved, the street lights are on, a lot of these random goofball ass dudes will look at that and be like, well look, well patriarchy gave you this. This is why we have bridges, because of men. It's like, all right, yeah, I get that. But at the same time, there's so much terrible shit going on in society that you could trace exactly back to, again, a toxic idea that your father's not supposed to put his arm around you and tell you he loves you. He's supposed to come home and read the newspaper, and your mom's supposed to put a plate down in front of him, and then he's going to fuck her later on, and that's his life. He's not supposed to have any emotion for you. He's not supposed to tell, and that's stupid. That's absolutely ridiculous. And people accepted that idea for generations. You're just now getting to the point where fathers can tell their sons they love them without feeling weird about it. Or if your son cries, you don't call him a faggot. Because my son got hit and he cried and he's a little pussy. And like, this was literally the mindset of men for a very long time, and that shit created problems. You wonder why. You think absent fathers and fucking broken women raising children don't have nothing to do with the gang violence and the shit that's going on in the world? It's because of torn up families and people not being able to see eye to eye in a way that they should be able. I mean, it's the most natural thing in the world for a man and a woman to get together and raise a family. Like, that is just the baseline of humanity.
You need an entire village just to raise kids. So
just I mean, yeah,
ideally, if you separate the mother and father in the household, it's only chaos that's going to happen afterwards.
Right, women feminizing their sons, and then you got the uber masculine, because that's the only way you can establish yourself, because she has a baby and her baby father's gone, so she got her next boyfriend. The only way her next boyfriend can establish himself is to beat her child half to death and get her pregnant. This shit happens so often in our society. It's fucking stupid. If you Googled the situation, you'd make yourself sick. How many men? Oh, the baby he peed. My boyfriend was watching my baby, and the baby peed the bed, so my boyfriend beat the kid to death.
Yeah, bro, they're definitely level 7 with the walruses. Like, that's instant level 7.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it happens so often, and the women choose these men. And who are you that you just out here in the world? Like, you, first of all, you smart enough to function in the world. You high functioning enough to talk a woman out of her vagina. But then when the kid pees the bed, you punch him in the stomach so hard you rupture his organs and kill him.
Yeah, man, you shouldn't even be around kids.
You should.
Yeah, but don't lions eat the women's babies?
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, so we're talking about 4 amino acids,
Right.
So,
the ingredients
so
for everything.
basically,
So
those stepdaddies out there, it's okay.
they're
Kill,
lions.
No,
get
there's
her
a
pregnant.
difference. There's a
Get her
difference, though.
pregnant. Kill that child.
No, there's a difference. The
Well,
difference
all
is
I'm saying is I'm just acknowledging.
No, I get it.
The,
You're right.
the primal biological impulse is
You're
real,
right.
and the
You're
problem
absolutely
is
right.
our starting point of our conversation isn't that shit is just there. That's just a part of the reality of what we are.
So the difference is the estrus cycle. When a lion or other animals, because a lot of them do the same thing. When a new man comes in, he just fucking strangles all the babies immediately, because a female lion will
Makes sense now.
will
This
not
makes sense.
enter the estrus cycle while she's still feeding baby, like while she still has those responsibilities of raising babies. She won't even start to menstruate, like none of that shit will take place. But if her babies die, then all of a sudden she's soaking wet and ready to have some more babies. So whatever program that is in Alliance, I get it, but you don't have to kill a human woman's child to get her pregnant again. You see what I'm saying?
But
like
but
you can
do
still
ya-
get her pregnant. Like,
do
are you
you not?
sure though? Do we
Have
know
you
that
had-
for
where's
sure?
the
though?
studies? Did
This,
did
but
Kinsey crunch the
this makes
numbers?
sense. This makes sense now. No, Bob. This makes a lot of sense.
Listen,
This
how
is-
do
this
you
is-
how
this
do you
is
know
why it's happening?
how do you know a woman doesn't drop a whole cream of mushroom soup in her drawers the moment she comes home and
You
sees
just
those children
killed
with their heads
all
caved
my
in?
kids.
Yeah.
Oh, let's
Right.
go.
All right, well,
Oh,
let
shit.
me-
I'm ready to make some more.
Let me
Let's
help you
go.
bury these babies so you can hit raw. That's what they do. They help the motherfucker hide the baby or something. Like, what the fuck is going
That's what
on?
I'm saying. It all makes sense now.
I'm saying nature is evil.
It
This
is.
shit is but it's just the reality.
It's
the-
indiscriminate. We have a lot of
Yeah.
rules and regulations that don't exist in nature, and we don't really have the right to project our assumptions about how we move back onto nature. Like, you can't look at a chicken. Like, I remember there was some feminists who went and broke into some kind of egg factory or whatever it was. It was a bunch of chickens, a chicken farm. They went and broke in there to free the chickens from rape, because they was like, yo, the rooster's raping all the hens and we want to free the chickens. Straight up, they went in there to free the hens because they were getting raped by the rooster. It's like you don't get to use your human logic. Like, I agree that human men shouldn't round up a bunch of women and rape them, but when you project that onto a group of chickens, now you might be going a little bit too far. That's just their politics. Even within the sexual politics of humans, there's range, right? Because and there's different rules for different people. There's a man out here who could walk up to a woman and say, "Come here, bitch, you about to blow me in the parking lot." And she'll be like, "You're right, let's go." And there's another man who could walk up to her and say, "Hey, can I buy you a drink?" And she'll be disgusted. So there's different rules for different people. Different people can get away with different shit. That's just the reality of it. It sucks for the men who can't get away with that. Like, if you can't walk up to a woman and grab her ass and walk out with her, that sucks for you. But that's just the reality. Roosters ain't having it. I'm going to grab this bitch by the nape of her neck and I'm going to pound her out for 3 seconds and then I'm going to get on with my day.
Dude, the only thing I can see is that pivotal, you know, those pivotal, like, court cases where, like, things were really fucked up until this one case came and then it was all brought to light, like Aaron Brockovich, you know what I'm saying? Like, you were poisoning all these people and we figured you out. Like, I just want to see the lawyer who finally makes, like, cub rights a thing. You know, like, for too long, cubs have just been eaten by the new stepdaddy and no one has stopped their murder. Right? No one's ever protected their rights. And to see the lawyer that brings up that case, and then it just pans, like, after the trial is over, it zooms in, like, what does the lion think now that, you know, he's been vindicated? And then the lion just starts eating everybody in the courtroom. I just see that.
Like, wait. No, it's fucking, it's horrible, bro. But I mean, who's gonna tackle that? Who's gonna step up and do something about it? Because it happens way more often than people would be comfortable with accepting. Shit is real. Dudes is out here killing the shit out of their girlfriend's kids, and then the dude goes to jail, and the girlfriend just meets another guy and gets pregnant.
They're lions. They're just lions. And if we're gonna protect those little babies, we need to protect those cubs.
Beta and alpha shit. By the way, like this just another man comes in and takes over everything. So
Yeah.
like, what's the point?
Yeah, but that's
Nah,
what
but
that's what the program is.
Listen, humans we were never meant to have this many of us interacting with this many of us. I
Right.
think there was some natural boundaries on us that were keeping things at an equilibrium with nature, and there was
I
some
completely
force in the
agree with that.
world that was like, nah, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? It's because it's just not possible. You're too easily. It's harder to replace you in a tribe of 200 people. It's hard. You know what I'm saying? It's the likelihood that you're going to go to prison and there's going to be a new lion that eats your babies in a small tribe is very unlikely. As much as it would if you're in a giant city with millions of fucking people just waiting to fuck your lion and eat your children.
She's
What can you
clearly
do?
still sexually aroused. Clearly.
Well, also, this is goes back to the parts of patriarchy that were working in favor of society. This shit probably happened a lot less when if a woman had a child out of wedlock and the dad was gone, she was a fucking social pariah. Nobody would touch that bitch with a 10-foot pole. Let alone
Right.
start dating her and get her pregnant again. And have to be faced with the like, should I kill her kids or not? Like that shit wasn't happening because nobody would touch you. You were done for. Your life is over. Your life is over because even if your kid grows up, you're going to be aged out of the sexual marketplace. So think about that. Now you got women who are 23, already got a kid, dad's gone. Now she need a new boyfriend. And
Kid,
yeah, yeah,
plural.
Right.
Kids.
right. And for some reason, these kids are always doing some shit to trigger their new boyfriends. Pissing the bed or spilling cookie crumbs, not wanting to eat their lunch, and they just look up some of the shit that these guys are doing. Like, oh yeah, the kid was watching a TV show that was gay.
Happens all the time in Florida.
It was it was fucking Yo Gabba Gabba. That shit would look kind of gay, so I beat him up. I told him to man up, and he wouldn't
Definitely
man up.
a Florida man crime going on.
Yeah, this shit don't make no sense, bro. I don't know why something like that would happen. I don't know why a woman would find that like. First of all, then again, you know what? Let me stop fronting. This might be women erasing their mistakes from society. Right?
Oh,
Woman has a baby by a guy who leaves her. Now she's tied down. She can't go to the club. She can't be twerking out till midnight because grandma ain't watching the baby. What do I do? I can't put the baby up for adoption. That's too much paperwork.
Oh
What do
my
I do?
God.
I'll get an ex-con boyfriend and let him babysit.
and always need him to babysit until he murders these children to make me estrus.
He has to babysit because she's working.
Or fucking somebody else. I mean, one or the other. So now you got rid of your baby. The guy who killed the baby goes to jail, and you're left as single and free with a new lease on life.
Oh my gosh. If we find one of these stories where there was an intermediate dude who was like, oh yeah, I used to watch her kids all the time, and for some reason she
broke up.
I got
with
the
me.
cold shoulder one day. It's like, this motherfucker has watched my kids for 9 months, not a bruise on him. This dude is a pussy.
He hating
I
on my
need to look for
estrus
somebody
cycle.
else.
He blocking my estrus cycle.
Because there's got to be something crazy that takes over chemically or biologically. Because how do you harm a child?
Right.
Like that, like when you talk, like it's hard enough to think about hitting a woman, especially a woman that's much smaller than you. You know you got the strength advantage. Like but a baby, like not just a kid. Like I could almost understand beating a teenager's ass just a little bit, but a fucking baby.
Yeah.
Like
It just goes to
dudes
show. It just goes to show the mental state that person shouldn't be around kids, because that's exactly what it is. Like if a baby is crying, it's either 3 things: food, calm her down, or they need to be cleaned up.
No, this isn't even like baby crying. This is like 3-4-year-old. Like you said, the kid wet the bed. He wet the bed, and for some reason that triggered this man so bad that he had to
But
start
hey,
punching
that's-
on the kid.
It just goes to show the mental state of that person, that individual.
Absolutely.
Like,
They're fucking
shouldn't
psychos.
shouldn't be around kids.
And they're
at
the
all.
ones that's getting the smash.
Well, that's because of low self-esteem on the women's part. That's on them.
No, I don't know if it's low self-esteem. It could be, because I think I definitely was listening to some interviews
So
recently with
if
some
you
women.
were a young 25-year-old male with 2 kids and you meet a woman who's probably murdered and robbed a couple of banks from jail, would you accept her in your house?
Hell no.
Well,
Hell no.
I'm just, I'm just telling you, for on the women's point of thing, it's always gonna boil down to I need somebody that's gonna protect me.
Right.
He came from jail. He's got to be strong.
But and also I heard, and like I said, I was watching some interviews with women, and they were saying that the way she, these are her words. She said that I think most women know they ain't shit because of the fact that they haven't really, a lot of them haven't developed any type of interpersonal social skills or nothing. They just completely rely on their beauty, and that's good enough for most men. Men don't need you to be a conversationalist. They don't need you to have a sense of humor, be funny. They just need you to look good and let me fuck, and that's really that's it for them. So when they think about who they are, deeply who they are within themselves, they think they ain't shit. So a man who treats them good, buys them flowers, loves on them and shit, they think something's wrong with the man. Because they're like, why are you doing all this shit for me when I'll fuck for a blunt and some Hennessy? Why would you take me out to a nice place and give me a foot massage or some shit like that? I'm a piece of shit. I'm worthless. So they respond to men who treat them the way they see themselves. So if it's a dude, he just got out of jail, he's like, I just need something to masturbate inside of. She's like, that's me. I'll be that person. Because that's all she really thinks she deserves anyway.
And all he did was open the door for her.
No, opening the door for her might get you friend zoned.
Yeah. No, you got to look at her like you're gonna murder her children.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you don't have that,
You got
there
kids,
might be an
bitch?
accident while you're babysitting. Look in your eye. She's not interested.
Yeah,
You had to spill some milk and scream. You end up screaming at everybody.
Yeah, that's it. That's
This
how
guy
she tests you.
is definitely gonna be the stepdaddy.
That's how she tests you. She bring you around the kids a little bit, see if you lose your temper. If you lose your temper, she's like, I need you to babysit tomorrow. Yo, that's fucked up, dude. That's a horrible premise. But I'm just saying, why is it happening so often? And none of the women are being prosecuted. I mean, well, the one woman who helped bury the body, to be fair, she definitely. I don't know how much time she got, but we already know that they give women less time than they give men for the same crimes and all this other shit.
And this is
because she was
substantive
afraid
facts.
of her life because she was a weak woman.
But can we just not gloss over that? Because that's one of those things where when we talk about equality, like that's a real deal equality right. Like that's an equality fight. Why I want equity in sentencing.
That's why I believe you're right.
Why do you think the woman doesn't have the agency? Why isn't she just as much as the mastermind?
She murdered that person. There's been some cases where the woman planned, like she's the reason that other woman killed the person. She's the reason, and then she's like, "Well, I'm telling on everybody." Gets full immunity.
Women do not get prison numbers like
men
men
have
do.
done the same thing and still got locked up and called a snitch.
Women's prison experience. I want you to do that. I want you to make equality in the prison experience for men and women. Why do women have such a better experience in prison than men? Why is there so much? I need you to. I need you to force an outcome. No, no. We live in a civilization that says everything needs to be equal. If there's not an equal outcome, there must be some sort of systemic racism at work. And the fact that all of these dudes are getting raped and murdered in man prison, and you don't see all of that rape and murder in woman prison, that lets me know that the government and the criminal justice system is not giving the same attention to male inmates that they're giving to female inmates. That's an inequitable outcome and clear evidence of racism. I want justice.
Well, you
I want
can't
man's
see
rights.
you can't see the same numbers because majority of the rape in women's prison is them forcing them to eat each other out.
Yeah.
The
so
worst
it's kinda
of
weird.
it, the worst of it are the people who are real like psychotic fucking murderer types, and what they do is they find inanimate objects to shove in people. So that some of the numbers, the worst numbers you're gonna see, which is still low, because there's not that many of those women in prison. So they get real mean. The big butch walrus on the cell block decides she gonna fucking break off a broomstick in somebody, and then you're like, oh, that's terrible, but it doesn't happen that often. But what is happening really often is them being like, come on in here and take care of mama, and they getting their boxes eaten, and I guess that could be traumatic, that could be, but it's definitely not as traumatic as being anally raped or penetrated. So maybe
Definitely
they just
not.
get over it. Maybe they just find it like, oh, I'm gonna have to eat this bitch's pussy.
They
but,
accept it.
But I'll
'cause
live.
It's something that they've already done. It's not as forceful either.
Right, because they're like, I guess I can do it.
It's like, you're not gonna beat me up, and all I have to do is eat tuna. All right.
Yeah. Like, you know
Compared to turn around, pull your pants down, I'm gonna stick my dick in you.
that's 100 times worse.
That's
No,
horrible.
but there's usually some face punches first.
It better be.
Usually there's some face punches for foreplay.
Dude,
I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's bad. It's just bad all the way around.
There's nothing you can do to just make women more serious.
No,
but go ahead.
No, I'm saying because of the way that they're expressing themselves, the shit that they're doing. Just imagine if they were getting, they're not even getting the same amount of time for the same crimes as men are committing. Their prisons are safer technically, and it's like, are they even really being punished? Like, you can go to jail right now for stealing too many times, especially in three strike states like California type shit. You can go to jail for stealing a car and end up getting beaten and raped for 5 years. And that's just a byproduct of being in prison. Most people, if you say, yo, I stole a car and then I got beaten and raped for 5 years in prison, they'd be like, well, don't steal cars, motherfucker. Like, that's just what it is. You knew what was going to happen when you went in there. But a woman who fucking stabs up her husband 50 times, they're going to be like, well, maybe we're only going to give her 5 years because maybe he was like mentally abusing her or something like that. They're really soft on women, and this is the gynocentrism of patriarchy.
Are women afraid of prison like men are afraid of prison? Is
Hell
that like
no.
even a fear?
Hell no. They're going to go in there and do each other's hair and makeup. It's just a fucking week. It's a girls' year.
It's a girls' camp.
Yeah, exactly. It's a girls' summer camp for the most part. You just don't piss off the big Mexican chick, and you're gonna have to eat her pussy on Thursdays. That's just.
But they gotta have a horrific Shark Week though, because they're all gonna be cycled up.
Yeah.
Like, there's gotta be 1 week a month
where it's just a fucking riot.
Everybody's bleeding.
Everybody's getting shanked and shit. Fuck yeah, that could be pretty bad. But even then, it's all women in there. So what are they really even gonna do? They're good at making men miserable, but when they're all in there together, what are they really? What's the biggest threat?
They talk about making men miserable.
Yeah, well, plotting. When I get out, I'm gonna get this dude to kill my babies and make his life miserable.
Yeah, women's first line of defense, what they're most prolific at, is reputation destruction, and rumor spreading, and not being able to sit with the cool kids. When you walk in the room, they all start whispering and look at you with the side eye. That affects women a lot, and it's also their prime method of destroying people. Men are just going to beat you to death and stab you 400 times in jail. If you in a women's jail, they're going to start a rumor about you, say you was fucking the guards and she's not a real lesbian and that bitch this, that bitch that, and then you get the cold shoulder from the other women in prison. That's your punishment. That's what they do. This is their strong suit. And I don't believe that since they go to jail and what do they just man up and start beating bitches up? Like, no, reputation destruction, just like they do anywhere else. So they're not even, and I'm not gonna say they're not really being punished, but I'm just gonna say that men's prison.
I'll say it.
Men's prison. No, because I don't want to say if I say they're not being punished, that's sort of insinuating that men's prison should be the standard of getting locked up. And
it should be.
No,
relative to men prison, they're not being punished. That's a fair statement. Relative to the male equivalent,
it should be closer to Dante's correctional facility. You shouldn't get raped if you go to jail for parking tickets. Like, this is ridiculous. There's no now if you're a rapist and a murderer and you're a fucking gang member who's been catching bodies for 10 years with AK-47s on the other gang, then if you go in there and you happen to get beat up and raped, that's just on you, son. You got to deal with whatever you got to deal with.
That's what you signed up for.
But there's people in that same jail for missing child support payments. That dude shouldn't be getting raped. There's accountants in there for embezzling money.
Betty
I
might
don't
say
know.
different.
The implication is that some man should be raped. And
Somebody
I don't
gotta
agree
get
with
raped.
that.
If
I
you
don't think
miss a
that's ever a
couple,
teaching tool.
if you miss a couple child support payments, definitely a teaching tool. You might get raped.
No, well, I'm not saying that some men should be raped. I'm just saying that if you are the type of man who is a rapist and a murderer, if you should be put in jail with people of your ilk. And if you in jail with rapists and murderers, some of y'all gonna get raped and some of y'all gonna get murdered. But this is the consequence of you being who you are. You just in here with people who just like you. So if you get a whole bunch of people who are gangbangers, rapists, multiple murderers, serial killers, all that shit, and you put them all in jail and they find a way to do their time and coexist without murdering and raping each other, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be like, yo, what the fuck? Rape numbers are down this month. I wouldn't care. But if somebody's got to get raped, let it be a rapist. That's what I'm saying. If you got to get stabbed in the shower, let it be somebody who just fired off into a crowd with an AK-47 because somebody was wearing blue instead of red. Let that guy get stabbed in the fucking shower. Not an accountant who embezzled $100,000.
Well, he should be raped too.
No.
Well, no. The fans of Racial Mania will decide his fate. What happens for his white collar
Maybe
crime.
you know what I think he should get? I think he should get threatened with rape. I think that accountant should be able to be in jail, and when he sits down, somebody takes his fucking peaches off his tray. They take his pudding.
5 years and threatened for rape.
Yeah, they take his pudding, they punch him in the face, and they say, "I'm gonna get that ass tonight," and they leave. And then he's got to be stressed and full of anxiety for the next 3 years because he don't know when they're gonna actually rape him. Like, that should be his fate. He shouldn't actually be raped. When he gets out of jail, he should be like, "Oh my God, I'm glad I didn't get raped." But you can't. Come on, man.
I think we have
just get what they get.
There's got to be a better system. I think when you first go in and they check your asshole and your balls and they strip you naked and you're ready to go, the biggest dude in the prison just goes behind you and just rubs the head in between your butt cheeks just a couple times. And then that's it. That's all they had. They just rub it just to let you know it's there. There's no penetration. It's just to let you know that it's there. It's the price of admission. Nobody gets into the prison without it.
Just the tip.
And then from there, any violation is an immediate rape.
Right.
It's an immediate
rape.
Right.
Like if you start trying to get in the game,
using it strategically as punishment.
If you start trying to get in the game, then you get raped. Like if you go to jail for embezzling and you get just a tip on your first day, and then after you've been here for a couple weeks, you're like, "Hey, you know where I can get some heroin?" Rape this fucking guy, bro. Like he's not doing his time quietly. He's like trying to get in the game and wheel and deal and shit. And like, you're fucked, bro. You're fucked. Literally, you're fucked.
Yep. Yeah. You go the first time you try to punk somebody, you punch somebody and take their cornbread. Yep. You get it. You're getting raped.
That's it.
As soon as you violate, the guards come out. They hit you with the tranquilizer darts. That one doesn't count because you have to be awake for it to be a punishment. But they putting you in the room with the walrus. Yeah. So
they strap you to
knows what he's doing to you while you sleeping.
They strap you to the rape
chair. But that doesn't count. The punishment isn't enacted until you're awake and conscious of it. And you would eliminate rape in prison if you had it as a strategic punishment instead of just a everyday occurrence amongst the population.
So you could only get raped for infractions in jail. Like they got the rape squad. They have the guys in jail, like the hall monitors and shit. Like this is the rape squad.
Oh shit!
I feel like Bin Laden would have been caught a whole lot faster if this was a thing.
It's the rape squad. These guys have armbands. They have the right to rape in jail, and they just roam the tier. They roam the tiers. Shit. They see what's going on, and if you're trying to punk somebody for their soups, you get raped.
And that's shock collars and 24-hour body cams.
Yep. So if we see you punking somebody, and you can't do too much extortion. Like if you let him borrow 10 cigarettes, you can only take 12 cigarettes back. Like if he gets 10 soup, if you get 10 packages of oodles and noodles on consignment, and then 2 weeks later you like, I want 100 packs, you get raped. That's not fair, bro. That's not fair. Like if he owes you 10, you can get 15. That's the vig. You can't be, you can't do this shit where he can never get himself out of debt. So. Yeah, corrective rape in jail by the rape squad, the hall monitor rape squad. That might actually fix the problem. But what do they do? What are these? That's why Egypt didn't want a standing army. What do they do when everybody start acting right and nobody's done any infractions and they can't rape? What do they do then?
Oh shit.
What's he gonna do? He's gonna start making up shit, right? Like, you know,
they're gonna get corrupt. That's why you need the shock collars and the body cams.
Right. No, not even a shock collar. It's a fucking the collar can inject shit that they give to chemically castrate.
Oh, so you can't get hard.
Right. Right.
You take away their boners.
Right. Well, but clearly, I don't know all the logistics yet, but we definitely need.
We're on to something.
Yeah, we definitely need a rape squad.
I don't see any human right violations at all.
Me either.
Listen, the problem is people go to prison and become better criminals because a whole economy and system, the gangs flourish in there. Like, the guards don't give a fuck. They can't stop it. And so it's kind of just accepted that these shenanigans are going to go on. It's clearly there's politics in the prison system that are just as corrupt as the politics outside of it, and it needs absolute reform. Prison reform now, and what it looks like is regulating how the punishments are meted out, and there has to be an accountability system. The guards don't care, you know. But if you work at the prison and you could suffer the same fate as the inmate, you eliminate guard corruption. Ain't no more ass whippings happening for no reason. It's just not going to happen.
You don't want to get knocked out and wake up strapped to the rape chair because of your infraction. Then the rape chair looks like the motorcycle. You know how the fast motorcycles that they race, you just completely bent over with the stirrups and your hands tied to the handlebars, and you wake up.
That's Mac's bike from Always Sunny.
Yeah, there you go. And then you wake up, and they're just like, it's like one of those do-it-yourself car washes. He's just washing your ass with a soapy stick sponge, and they're just like, "Oh no, you fucked up. I saw you punched that guy. You took the phone from him. Now we got you for 24 minutes. Yeah, you earned yourself 24 minutes of penetration. So don't do that again. You might not want to do that no more." And I'm down. Shit. I don't see nothing wrong with it.
We fixed prison.
We fixed again.
Because the alternative is there's gonna be more rape. If your complaint is this is going to result in guards, or not guards, but prisons raping each other, that's already happening. And you know what? It's rape chaos. Yeah. This is just bringing an objectively more fair system of rape into the male prison system.
A more fair system of rape.
That's rehabilitative.
Rehabilitative
rape going on.
Yeah, yes. Rehabilitative rape. That's not a problematic phrase at all. Not even a little bit. No. Rehabilitative rape. I think that already exists somewhere in South Africa or some shit like that. I think they already got some, but it's not, it's not regulated, clearly. They're just
listen.
These women are lesbians. We must fuck them until they learn.
Until man prison numbers come down, that this is the solution that needs to be implemented. I don't think the solution is to make females just as miserable, right? I think that that's the baseline. Man prison needs to be at least as safe and non-rapey as female prison, and this is just the only way that you can rein them in, by having your little team of hall monitors.
Can you imagine those motherfuckers walking through the halls with their armbands on and shit, just staring at everybody, looking at what you're doing, fucking checking everything out? It's like, yo, put that shit away. The rape squad coming. Like, don't let them see that joint. If they see you smoking weed, you get 17 minutes in the rape chair, bro.
Oh shit.
You don't want it. You definitely don't want it. These are the way problems get solved. These are the way problems get solved. You take something that's already there, and you just put a little bit of discipline on it, and things change. You can't just be in here just willy-nilly raping people for nothing.
I see how this could go wrong. I see the hole in it. What about when you got ambitious ass power bottoms?
Oh shit.
They're gonna be
starting fights.
The prison.
Start fights, fucking everybody up.
Any and everybody.
Well, they got 46 minutes in the rape chair, and then they just come out refreshed and well fucked,
right?
And still start more shit.
Because that just becomes the most thugged out shit. Like, yo,
he's definitely have to be the honorary hall monitor at that point.
Nah,
Well,
because he
no,
don't want to rape.
because he's not the giver.
Nah, he's the
He's
bottom.
not the rapist. Right. So that's what I'm saying. Those start to be culturally the most thugged out, respected, and feared motherfuckers in prison. Is gay power bottoms. Like, and dude, that's gonna be the new mark. It's like, yo, you got a teardrop tattoo. Like, nah, you got branding. Like, did you burn some shit in? No. I have horrible hemorrhoids. That's my battle scar. That shows that how I'm a badass. That you know I'm the fucking man.
Yeah, I gotta wear a diaper. I shit myself. I don't even have the ability to not shit myself anymore.
That is horrible.
Is wrecked, but this is the dude that could fuck up anybody in prison. He brings the corruption right back.
Yep.
Because he has a way to make everything happen. Because your punishment has no effect on him. You're throwing Brer Rabbit in the briar patch. He don't give a fuck. He don't give a fuck.
Damn, dude. Yeah, see, this is how the simulation works. This is how nature works. This is one of the reasons that we're in the shit that we're in right now, because no matter what move you make, if it's not perfectly in line with how things need to go, nature's going to correct itself. The simulation is a self-correcting organism. It knows what to do. That's why we're here right now. We had too much unchecked patriarchy, so now it's like, now you got rainbow parades where people show their taint. You got to deal with it, bro. You did this. You had 50, 60, 100 years where you could just put your boots up on the table. You could go visit the brothel and not be seen as a bad man. But if your wife ever looked at a penis before you met her, she's a whore and a slut. Like, you had your way for so long. Now you got to deal with this. You got to say, if that woman won't fuck me, I think it's because the only way she can resist my charm is by being a witch. So we got to burn her.
Cosmic justice, just like Ezra Miller did. Bitch, you're a witch. I've identified you.
Right. So this is what happens. This is how we get here. And the less that we recognize it and point out the problems and the things that we're doing wrong, we're just going to keep throwing the pendulum to different extremes. It's never going to have a time to find the equilibrium in the middle, because it's like, oh, well, after patriarchy, let's go completely into fucking feminazism and shit like that, where we destroy men, kill all men, and abort male babies, like all that energy, and then it's going to swing back in the other direction. I truly believe that the reason patriarchy hit so hard is because matriarchy had already fucked us over. Just like people don't understand that, they don't want to admit that the whole, the white cave dog coming out of the fucking Caucasus Mountains had this random vendetta against black people. That's not how it all started. There was a time before that. Where albinos and shit like that was getting ousted out of society and murdered in record numbers and shit. And you got the Moors took over all kinds of places and put people's wives in brothels for 800 years. And like, yeah, but they made raised sidewalks and street lamps and art and but they was also taking everybody's wives and making them work as prostitutes. They was also fucking chopping heads off and throwing motherfuckers overboard if they wouldn't convert to Islam. So, and this is what you get. This is what you get. It always comes full circle the other direction. I think matriarchy had fucked us over so bad. I think the first thing that men ever worshipped was women. The oldest deities, the oldest carved stone deities that you see are the Hottentots with the big fat asses and the big titties, and that's what men worship. And it made perfect sense why they would worship that. But whenever you pedestalize something, you got to be ready for it to chop your fucking head off eventually, because you can't pedestalize anything and it not come back to bite you. That's not how this shit works. It's supposed to be balanced. You raise women to a high degree. Next thing you know, she's like, I don't like the hook in his penis. Cut his head off. And the dudes were like, yo, I can beat this bitch up. Like, why should we take this? We can just beat them up. And then somewhere along the line, they flipped the switch, and they was like, fuck all this matriarchy shit. We're tough. We can knock your ass out, rape you, and get you pregnant. And then you can't do shit for the next 9 months. You can't even run from me. So now we have patriarchy for hundreds of years. Now, gay parades, trans people, vaginal phalloplasties, all this kind of shit. It's the replacement. The birth rates are completely in the shitter for most demographics, and they're worried about it. You started it. You started the wave, and now you got to deal with it. And the only thing that's going to, do I even have to say it? In metaphysics, are we fucked? There's no way out of this shit. How do you think what's the path back from children taking puberty blockers and getting their genitals carved off. Is that just that's just the new way to be? That's just the new world. No, that's not what it is. Something's gonna happen. Like I said, most of these people are already committing suicide at high numbers, whether they get surgeries or not, whether they get the drugs and pills or not, puberty, but it doesn't matter. They're still killing themselves, and it's not because of society. Black people weren't killing themselves at this higher rate when they were in their slave situation. Even after that, before civil rights, there wasn't no TV shows full of black folks. There wasn't no social media scrolling full of black folks. But now you can scroll social media and see a dude with glitter in his beard and lipstick and high heels tell you why he's a woman. And if you say he's not, you're a dinosaur bigot and you should be canceled. And if you go leave a comment on his video and say, oh, you're a fucking faggot, guess what? You're fired. It's very likely you can get fired from your job. And it's very likely that when you go look for another job, they're going to be like, oh, you're the guy that called that woman a faggot, right? And you're done. You're done. There's a one guy who was talking shit to somebody at Starbucks. This was back when everybody was saying Starbucks was homophobic.
Racist.
Well, this was before the racism. They tried to get him the first time with homophobia because they said Starbucks was giving donations to some church who was preaching gay conversion therapy, like all that kind of shit. So the first thing was they're homophobic. And some guy pulled up to the Starbucks drive-thru and he started berating a girl that worked there. How can you work here? How your conscience lets you work here? And they was telling everybody to go through the Starbucks drive-thru and just order a cup of water because it's going to slow down their drive-thru. It costs the company money because water's free. So let's just fuck them over. Yeah, that's cute. Do that. If you want to do that until they change the policy, no more free water or whatever, that's up to them. But when you start to berate the girl who's working at the drive-thru to make yourself feel better, and he recorded it, put it on YouTube by himself, he got canceled, he got fired, he couldn't find a job for years, had to sell his house at a loss. Like now they're living in poverty because you decided to talk shit to somebody at a drive-thru window.
As he should.
Well, I don't know if the rest of your life should be fucked. Because
yes, it should.
People say shit on social media. You've said shit on this show that could get you canceled forever. You know what I'm saying?
Not canceled. I'm uncancelable.
See, you gotta just be uncancelable. But that's the thing though, is that people will attempt it because they don't like your opinions and shit like that. I think
good luck.
I think he definitely should have got reprimanded publicly. He should have been made to apologize because that was corny. This is not Starbucks you're yelling at. It's just a kid who works here. Like, shut the fuck up. But for your family to have to suffer to the point where you lose your house, you lose your job, don't know where your next meal's coming from because your dad yelled at somebody at the drive-thru. There's people in this world who took part in genocides. There's people in this world who fucking did all kinds of horrible terror. There's a dude who was recently on Vlad TV. This is another reason why the prison system is broken. A guy named Blue Boy was on
Oh, Vlad. Yeah, I seen that one. That was a good one.
Bro, that shit was fucking atrocious, bro. This motherfucker Blue Boy.
I'm surprised he got the fuck out with all the shit that he said. I'm like, you got out of prison? Bro,
he went to jail for murder, right? Went to jail for murder. He admitted that while he was in jail, he cut hundreds of people. This is actually the guy, Larry Davis?
Yeah,
he's the guy that killed him.
He's the guy that killed Larry Davis in jail. After he killed Larry Davis in jail, he was in solitary confinement. I think he said 9 years. He was in solitary confinement for 9 years. While he was in solitary confinement, they confiscated over 100 weapons from him because he was breaking shit off, stealing shit, making weapons, never stopped. And then the motherfucker just got out of jail back into society. How the fuck you go to jail for murder, commit 2 more murders in prison, stab hundreds of people, and then you just get out?
Because there's no Dante's Correctional Facility.
Right.
That's why
Leave
this shit
this
has to
motherfucker
be
in
made.
there. Let him fucking rot. But then you got somebody like the one kid from New York that got accused of stealing somebody's backpack. He was in jail for 3 years without ever being arraigned or sentenced, and it fucked him up so bad he ended up committing suicide when they finally did let him out. Like shit like that. This motherfucker in here cutting and stabbing and killing, and he just walks out of jail. I don't understand. And then he gets to go on a TV show, on Vlad TV, probably got paid for the interview. He sees himself getting hundreds of views. You scroll through the comments and people like, yo, he a real one, son. Y'all motherfuckers are stupid. He's a fucking murderer who walked out of jail because they were just like, fuck it, I guess just fucking let him out. Who cares? Like, just let him out.
Oh, they just fucking let him out the fence. That's awesome.
Fuck it. You know what I mean?
Even when he described, I'll still give the fact that like his situation got him to the decision that he made. But even the fact that he was like he killed 2 people, and like the jail was like they didn't even really do anything about it.
Well, what he said, what he said was they don't care. Well, at least the prison that he was in, they don't care if you kill people in jail because you basically killing other people who just like you.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck. Killing a civilian will get you 20 years. Killing another fucking mass murdering rapist get you, whatever.
He gave him like, I think he said like 3 or 5, right? Didn't even like.
Yeah, 3 to 5 for the murder. And then he was in, and I guess because Larry Davis was a high profile kind of inmate, that might be why he got out of jail, because he killed the cop killer. That might be why they actually let that motherfucker out.
Didn't he say fair, the mayor like shook his hand and whispered in his ear, "Thank you" or something?
Yeah. He said you did what the prison system couldn't do.
To be fair though, like he didn't like just kill Larry David because
right. Yeah, they was beefing.
He's not Larry David. Larry David is still alive.
Not Larry David.
Don't get us sued.
I'm sorry.
He might be litigious.
Correct me. What his name is?
Larry Davis.
Larry Davis.
Yeah, they was
Larry
beefing.
Davis.
They was fighting. He said Larry Davis hit him in the head with a cane and shit, and he was like interfering with some other prison business and all that.
Yeah, he got involved in like prison politic bullshit. He just got stuck in the middle.
I get it. I was fascinated with Larry Davis for a while, but then you realize...
I was fascinated too until I realized he was working with the police throughout the whole thing, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, even that, like, I wasn't mad at him because a lot of people were working with the police. The police are the corrupt ones in that situation. They had the resources, they had the drugs, they had the access. They brought all that shit to him. He was, of course, in the hood trying to... I think he said him and his friends was trying to be rappers at the time. Like, they was doing studio, like, buying little equipment and trying to be rappers. And something happened. They got hemmed up. And the cops was just like, yo, you gonna fucking push this dope for us. So even in that situation, I still see the cops as the bad guys. But... And even killing the cops that he was killing were ones that were trying to murder him.
Were trying to kill him, yeah.
Right, they were trying to murder him to keep the secret.
He also was like telling on other people too. Like, I don't know, a lot of shady stuff with him too. But
yeah, it was just super fascinating. I saw that around the time. Like there was a time, a few years back when, like right after, I feel like it was right after Paid in Full came out. Then somebody put out a documentary about the real story behind Paid in Full. I had no idea it was true until fucking maybe 2 or 3 years after I saw the movie. I thought it was just a cool movie. And then I saw the Paid in Full documentary and how closely they followed the real details and all that shit. I was like, holy fuck, this shit is real? Like people getting kidnapped and cutting fingers off, and how Alpo killed his own uncle, and Alpo killing his boy because you got some keys to get your nephew out of the kidnap situation, but you ain't giving us no drugs to sell on the street. I'm just gonna kill you then. And I'm just fascinated watching this. Like I can't fucking believe it.
The people that kidnapped the kid was a wild group too. If you look up the Preacher Crew, that shit, those were fucking devils and fucking in the hood. Right. Like look that shit up. But even him, he was trying to get the kid out. The uncle was so fucked up. He was like, "No, we're gonna get more money out of him."
Right. So at that time, there was a lot of documentaries coming out about these hood stories and infamous killers in the hood, like. One of the guys who Alpo used to hang out with, I can't remember his name, but this month they got a whole documentary about how many people he killed, this Jamaican dude, and how he killed some cops, and he was just prolific, and he was a person who seemed to be not bothered by killing people. He wasn't all PTSD'd out. He was on the block drinking 40s and shit like that and chilling with everybody and then committing murders for hire. So at the time, that's the time that I saw the Larry Davis documentary, and it just sounded so fantastical. It was hard to believe that shit actually took place the way it did, and to see all the footage and everything. So that's how I found out about it. And then later on, it's just like, son is just, and you don't really have much of a choice. Son just, he bought it hook, line, and sinker. Like, I went to jail as a cop killer. I'm gonna be a superstar in here, and then you know things. It goes the way it goes. It is what it is. I was sad when I heard he got killed, especially like that. Like, dude in jail for all these years, and he don't even get out as some type of redemption thing and shit. His son gets fucking stabbed in the face, or some shit like, damn, that's just sad, bro. It's just sad that that's your existence. But the motherfucker who killed him is doing interviews on Vlad TV, and that's not the only one. Vlad got people. Yeah, I was an
He's
enforcer.
got mafia guys
Yeah.
who fucking murdered everybody.
I was an enforcer for the mafia. I killed 250 people. Here's my story. Like, how the fuck are you what? How does this work? How does this work? There's people in jail right now for shit nowhere near as egregious, but they sitting in there under constant threat of violence and rape because they just couldn't turn state's evidence, or they didn't have nothing to tell to make their sentences shorter, or whatever. It's all politics with that shit. Some people just shouldn't get out. Why can't you lie to criminals? Why can't you tell him, yeah, you tell me everything and we'll let you go, you get immunity.
They do it.
And after they tell you everything, you just send that motherfucker to jail anyway.
They do it to a lot of them. Like that surprises me too, that a lot of these guys who's openly said like they've murdered people or they're murder for hire, and they're out there like doing these interviews. I'm like how is there a guy who told on his whole group of friends, and he's doing the same amount of time for one mistake, and you've killed like 30 people, and you're just walking around here
doing interviews, talking about what you did, talking about what you did like it was cool.
We've already cured all this. We've already cured this with the police draft, racial mania, and Walrus Island.
Facts.
All of these problems evaporate overnight.
Facts. That's the truth. It's the truth. All we're waiting for now is for the world to catch up and understand how important this shit is, because, it's clear to me, anyway. It's clear that the thing that they're avoiding by re-examining this shit, I know they like their slave labor, and you keeping a lot of like with these CEOs and you keeping a lot of bad people from exercising their proclivities out in the rest of the world. Like, imagine what this fucking CEO might be doing if he didn't get to beat Mace and fuck up prisoners whenever he wanted to. He might be a menace out in regular society. It's not just the prisoners that we're saving from society from. Sometimes it's these evil ass sadistic CEOs who in there too. Look at the female CEOs who just go in there and get pregnant. I feel like they should just put her right in the jail. Just put her right in the jail. You get pregnant, if you go to jail and you let a lifelong felon talk you out of your box, you should just go right to jail.
You might as well just be in there.
Yeah,
be in there with everybody.
Yeah, just go to jail now. You used to work here, now you live here. This is what you did with your government job, your good check that you was getting every week. You came in here and let this motherfucker get you pregnant. You let him bang you raw. When he in here probably banging other dudes, you let him bang you raw and get you pregnant. All right, yeah, you go to jail too. We're going to send you over to the women's prison, though, because we being nice. We ain't going to put you in the men's prison. It's just ridiculous. Dante's Inferno fixes it all. Dante's correctional facility fixes it all. And I haven't heard anybody with a better premise than that. A tiered prison system according to what you did and how you behave once you in here. They like the chaos. They like the free labor. They like the spectacle of seeing the politics of what goes on in there. You can't tell me that the guards and everybody else don't just love the idea of how you can, if one of the prisoners talks shit to you, you can just take him to an empty room and then another door open and 4 more prisoners come out to beat him up and rape him, and the cops
it's the ultimate power trip.
Yeah,
it's the ultimate power trip.
Absolutely.
Hall monitors are in level 8.
Yeah, it's the ultimate power trip. Like I've gotten locked up, and I already knew what time it was. Like, you didn't have to tell me. I didn't need no old guy in the street to tell me and explain to me anything. Like, I stayed quiet. You said jump, I say how high. And then, like, there's this kid in there, and he's just running his mouth. And to the point the dude is like, he said something that was like degrading, whatever. And then the kid's looking at everybody else because there's a bunch of other men. Like, y'all just gonna let him sit there and talk to me like that? Like, nigga, he has a gun and a cane. We're all in chains. Like,
yeah,
what do you want us to do?
That type of aggression is acceptable.
What do you expect is gonna happen?
That shit's acceptable in jail. I think it's a lot worse when it's regular cops. Like, I think I've seen a lot of videos and shit where cops talk crazy to people and just get super, like, for no reason. Like, it'll be a traffic stop and they'll start talking crazy, and I think that is super dangerous. But if you're in a prison, you got to be able to talk shit and threaten people and be willing to do, because the people who are in here, they won't hesitate to set up a situation where they could stab you up, or they could catapult hot shit and dookie Glocks on you and do all kind of shit like that. They can fuck you over, bro. So you gotta be kind of hardcore to work there, but you gotta be almost a borderline criminal. You gotta have some of the same proclivities as the criminals do. You gotta be willing to do some of the same shit that they do. Because if they think
gotta
you
be
soft,
hungry for power.
yep, and if they think you soft, it's a wrap for you, cousin. It's over. You can't walk in there like, hey man, yeah, this guy's been nice to me since I've been here. You fuck around and get dragged in the cell too.
I'm surprised I've never had like any cops like do crazy shit to me, because I have moments where I talk like the wildest shit, but it's always like justified shit. Like I just like, if you're giving me attitude, attitude is gonna come right back at you.
Nah,
I don't know, man.
I
Like,
don't fuck with cops like that. They're
I
unstable.
don't fuck with them like that, but it's like you're going through my car and you see a Bible. Oh, you never use this a lot. It's like, bitch, why are you talking about what I do and don't fucking do? Why are you like? I just get so angry. I just get so angry. Like,
Yeah,
I don't say wild shit, but I will correct you. Like one time to make a long story short, my stepson, he disappeared out the house, and it's not entirely my fault. There was like a whole series of things that happened, but basically he walked out the house, and police got involved or whatever, and the police come running at first, because I'm dead asleep. I worked the night before I was dead asleep. And the police is knocking on the door. It's like, you have any missing child here? And I'm thinking he's with the mom. So I'm like, no, that's not ours. And then I closed the door. And then long story short, it ended up being my stepson. but the brother was there. It's just a whole thing. I was asleep. But anyway, it ended up being ours. So the cop was talking shit. Talking about, well, how could you? I had to shut her up. I'm like, I just came home from work 12 hours a night. That's his dumbass fault for not knowing if the kid walked out the house. Like, I was hot. I'm like, you ain't gonna put this on me. But she instantly, I swear to God, she instantly calmed down and was like the nicest person to me after I said it. I don't know, man. Like, I'm a respectful person. Don't come to me with the disrespect.
Yeah, the worst situation I've ever had with cops was an almost situation. So that's why I can't talk too crazy about cops, because I haven't really had any bad experience with them. I had some stupid ones. I got pulled over once, and you know, we're artists and shit, me and my lady, and she was transporting, when she was going to school, she was transporting like sculpture stuff and plaster and everything in the car, and she had it on the front seat, so it was easier to take it out and shit like that. And a cop pulled me over once, and he shined the light on the front seat, and there was all these little white chips, and this motherfucker, his eyes got so big, like he thought he just had the drug bust. He was so happy. He was like, oh, what's that? I was like, oh, it's plaster. Like, I picked some of it up and I crushed it in his hand. It's like he held his hand out, I crushed it between my fingers and dropped the chips in his hand. It's just fucking plaster, bro. Calm down. But the worst thing that happened, where I saw the opportunity for one of us to get fucked up or get shot or get hurt, was when we were standing outside late at night. I might have even told this story on the podcast before, but we were standing outside late at night, and a cop car pulls up and told us that somebody called 911 and said that when a previous cop car drove by, the guys on the corner yelled "Popo." And I was like, wait, let me get this right. You didn't hear us yell "Popo." Like, we didn't yell "Popo" at you. But somebody called 911 and said there's guys standing outside, a cop car drove by, and they yelled "Popo," and you showed up for that? And he just looked at us like, yeah, I mean, that's what they said. So we standing there laughing about it, like we didn't call Pope. Nobody said that. We live right there, like 50 feet from the corner we were standing on. Granted, it was like 2:30 in the morning, but we was just standing out there chilling. Another cop car pulls up. Oh, and it was the first cop was black, second cop was white. He pulls up, he gets out of his car. He's like, hey, what's going on? And so we're explaining it. And he's laughing at it too. He's like, yeah, that's kind of goofy, but somebody called. That's what they said when they called. Third cop car pulls up. Fucking Dolph Lundgren gets out. It was straight up the Russian from Rocky. He was tall, motherfucker, had a blonde crew cut, and he had glasses on, and the straps went around the back of his head. Like, I want to wrestle and fuck you up, but I don't want my glasses to fall off while I'm doing it. And he got out of the car. When this motherfucker got out of the car and started walking toward us, you could just, his energy was just like, I'm fucking somebody up. I don't know what's going. You see two cops and two guys standing on the corner with smiles on their faces and laughing. And he got out with the ice grill like somebody's going to the hospital. And the other cop, the second cop that showed up, he turned around and stopped the third cop from walking up on it. He's like, no, we got it. Like, they totally knew if he came over here, the situation was going to change. The energy was going to change. So they stopped him from even walking up on us. And that was the best and worst. It was the worst because this motherfucker was clearly out for trouble. There was no sign of discord in the conversation. Everybody was super relaxed. They had already been there talking for 5-10 minutes. He pulled up. He didn't read the room. He didn't give a fuck about none of that. He was trying to hurt something. And one of the cops knew that he was trying to hurt something. And he went and stopped him. And then the other cop, they all was like, all right, we got to go. Because like our boy is about to blow his fucking top right now. So we got to end this interaction. But the fact that they knew who he was and knew what he was capable of, yet he's still on the force, was scary as fuck. But in their favor, they stopped him from even coming over. They didn't even let him get over to us. So I can't really talk too crazy about cops, but I understand that a lot of these motherfuckers are unstable. A lot of them come in with baggage and trauma from their own childhoods and their own, presuppositional biases and shit like that. And they're not trying to hear it. Some of them came in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and just got jaded over time from chasing shirtless Negroes. That could be true. Maybe he chased so many shirtless Negroes, he's just like, you know what? I'm sick of black people. Like, hey, maybe that's not the most rational position to take, but I understand. If I chased enough shirtless Negroes, I'd probably feel the same way. But they were decent. They seemed to be fairly decent cops. But they man was ready to kill something, period. And nothing was going on. And that's the police force in a nutshell. Some of them might be good people, but they're more than willing to protect the worst of them because of tribalism, the thin blue line, or whatever you want to call it. They're more than willing to protect people who they know are stealing. Stealing money from drug dealers, that's not that bad. I'll totally forgive you for if you decide to gun butt a drug dealer in the mouth and take his money. I'm not even mad. I can't find too many things wrong with that. Because if I had the opportunity to gun butt a drug dealer in the mouth and take his money, I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah, I would do the same thing. If I see a pile of money sitting there and I'm a cop and we caught the guy,
I'm going to beat your ass.
Everybody's handcuffed. I feel like that should be like an unwritten rule. Like, hey, that's all right.
Yeah, beat his ass. We found all his cocaine, but no money. We found cocaine and guns, but we ain't find no money. That just is what it is. But when you doing that shit to civilians and you ripping people out of their cars at traffic stop, like if you can't direct your anger, if you can't direct your aggression at the people who deserve to have to deal with it, then I don't know what to tell you. And not even if you pull somebody over and he say, what the fuck you pulling me over for, that's not enough to beat him up. Yeah, he hasn't proved he's a criminal yet. It's a traffic infraction. It's a fucking, his registration's out, his tints are too dark. I don't give a fuck about none of that. Now, if you find a fucking a tied up woman in the trunk, then by all means, whoop his ass and take him to jail. Like, now, don't beat him to death, but, tighten him up a little bit and then drop him off in jail. It is what it is. Nobody's going to be mad at you. I know you riding around all day with the gun on your hip and the anxiety's building up. And that's why when cops chase people, they kind of have to fuck you up when they catch you. They have to.
Oh, yeah.
They have to.
That's definitely facts.
They have to.
And you're definitely getting stopped the fuck out. If I told you to stop and you just ran.
You in the car. I just chased you for like 5 miles. We hitting speed bumps and shit. My car
get
bouncing.
the helicopters, go through the bushes.
Yeah, when you crash your car and you get
I'm
out
not even
and run,
a cop, and I will stop you the fuck out.
Yeah, we gonna rush you, and all 5 of us are gonna pound you out for about a minute and a half, and then we calm ourselves down. All right, fellas, relax.
Right.
He's not moving. Put the cuffs on
keep
him.
This guy alive.
Yeah, I ain't mad. If you run and you get fucked up, that's just part of the game, bro. Charge it to the game. I ain't mad.
I'm with you on that one, but I don't know, man. It's a fucking balancing scale, bro. It's a balancing scale.
It's a terrible
but
job.
Sometimes it's a terrible job, and sometimes it's the people calling in, bro. Because like I've seen a bunch of scenarios where like black people just sitting outside, and the cop is like, "What the fuck am I being called for? This is just a kid just sitting out here," type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And then like in the same fucking apartment in the same area, I've seen fucking white people screaming, yell, literally throw wine bottles, and pulled out a gun, and nobody calls the police
because he's white. If you call the cops on a white person, you might get beat up.
We think that he's going to be responsible. If he pulled the gun out, it was probably for a good reason.
I'm
it
sure
was her that pulled out the gun on him. I'm like, nobody wants to call the police on this. I moved out instantly, bro. I
think the dispatchers should be trained. First of all, 911 dispatchers are assholes. They're some of the most jaded motherfuckers in the game because they never actually have to see or deal with the consequences of what's going on out there. People will call you like, "Oh my God, he's stabbing me." They'll be like, "Calm down, down. What's your address?" Like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about?
Where are you called? He's in front of me.
I heard you, ma'am.
Calm down.
You need to stop screaming, ma'am. Like, the knife is in me.
Ma'am, you need to stop screaming and be calm. I need to know what's going on.
They're assholes.
Step by step.
They're assholes. So I think they need to be trained a little bit more to understand what shit is not against the law. So if somebody calls you and says a guy's walking around with a fucking AR-15 on his back, and you in an open carry state, we're like, well, that's not necessarily against the law. Like, what else? Is he pointing at people? Is he doing anything? Nah, he's just got, or this guy's recording. That's the First Amendment audits is some of the most hilarious shit on the internet. Cops, they're fucking tyrannical, bro. They're tyrannical. All you gotta do is walk in the post office and start recording the walls of the post office with your phone, and they'll be like, "Yo, you can't do that." He's like, "Yeah, I can. This is First Amendment." They'll just call the cops, and the cops show up to a call. A guy is recording in the post office, and they'll show up on 10. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you supposed to be here with the? Yo, bruh, I'm recording. I'm taking videos with my phone. Why are you ready to beat my ass right off the top? It's power corrupting the security guards in these places. It's just humans are corrupted by power at every level.
A hunger for power security guard, though, just needs pussy. Like, get the fuck out of here with your whistle and flashlight.
I think that's what most of them need. I think that's what mostly, again, back to the sacred whores. This is what most people need. They're not getting sex the right way or often enough. They haven't been taught the right way. They haven't been socialized with sex the right way. I'm sure they're watching a lot of porn and jacking off, but as soon as you're done jacking off the porn, you feel like a useless piece of shit. You feel like a fucking horrible slug. So now you hate yourself and you start drinking alcohol to drown it all away. So that's clearly not fixing the problem. They need sacred whores. And not the kind of sacred whore that you get to pin her knees back by her ears and slam away on her. No, you need the kind of sacred whore who's going to stroke your hair and tell you that you're loved and appreciated, and then she's going to give you a long, slow BJ. Like, you need to feel loved. You don't just need a fucking human that you can masturbate inside of. There's a whole nother tier of sexual activity that these people don't have access to, and they need it. And maybe they're not going to earn it from a wife or from a girlfriend. Maybe they don't know how to get that from a person. So that's why we need the sacred whores. We need the courtesans who are trained in the arts of lovemaking to come to your house and treat you the way you need to be treated. And then the cops like, you know what, buddy, I'm just going to give you a warning. You enjoy the rest of your day. Less people would get killed. Less security guards would be trying to beat you up, and less bouncers would be punching your head off and shit like that. People are just super uptight. They need sacred whores. And the women, I don't know if you could do sacred whore of men. I don't know if that works.
So they need it? They could get dick left and right.
Yeah, I don't think it's not the same.
But are they getting mindful?
Only ugly women are thinking about shit like that.
Yeah. But are they, what type of pipes are they getting though? I think most dudes is out here trying to avoid AIDS by just, quick slamming. Nobody's giving them what they need. No slow grinding. That's how you get the AIDS, bro. So
I never realized that was the issue. Well, that's been my number one issue. I've been deep diving, slow grinding.
Can't do that.
Nah, dude. You need to do it like you're a ninja, like you're pulling off a heist.
Just doing pump and dump.
It's Ocean's 11, man. She should never know you were even there. You should nut and leave, and she's just none the wiser. What happened? You got Ocean's 11. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
for real. Because, you don't want to get the diseases. All the diseases live in the bottom of the women's vagina. So
Close to the cervix.
the more time you spend down there, the more likely you are to get a debilitating, life-threatening disease. If you slam straight in, straight out as quick as you possibly can,
You won't get it.
You won't get
Because
it.
what happens is AIDS is it pools very slowly. So if you go in there and you're just wading in the vaginal waters, the AIDS is slowly pooling into the hole of your penis and giving you the AIDS. But if you're just slamming real quick, light strokes, nothing deep, nothing loving, nothing that meanders there, and just in and out, you'll never get AIDS ever,
Right.
and that's a fact.
Right. Right. Basically, if you have sex that lasts if you have sex that lasts under 4 minutes, you can't get AIDS.
That's the key. That's the key.
That's it. If you in there 10, 15, you in there trying. If she has an orgasm, you're dead. Period. If she comes, you're dead. You can forget about it, bro. It's over. It's over. Don't even try to do it. Don't try to fucking give her. No, bro. That's how you kill yourself. Get in, get out. She'll be fine. Trust me. She's got the rose. She's got all kind of toys. She'll be fine. She's not gonna blame you for it. She understands you're trying to avoid her diseases that she's been cooking up in her box for all this time. She knows what's up. She'll appreciate. Matter of fact, she'll probably appreciate you more for being a selfish lover.
She'll
I think.
respect you more.
Yeah, because if you in there slow grinding, you getting. I mean, that's like
You're in love.
That's the husband stroke. She don't want
Right.
that. She want that weekend behind the dumpster stroke.
Right.
I came outside the bar to throw up, and there was a guy already out here waiting for me with a boner. That's the stroke she want. That's the stroke she want. Until she's over 30, and you've got once she's like 35, 40, then you get an AIDS test. You make sure she's not fucking dripping with gonorrhea. Then you can do all kinds of extracurricular strokes. But when she's young and she's out here in her prime and she's giving it away every week, you don't want to be in there too long, buddy. You don't want to be in there.
Because she's definitely the one spreading the disease, of course.
Well, she's an incubator. She's an incubator.
Statistically undeniable.
That's just like the bottom of the vagina is AIDS' vacation home. AIDS actually lives in men's butts.
It just washes off. It just washes off our penis.
Yeah, that's where it lives. It lives in men's butts. It goes to vacation in vaginas, but it lives in men's butts. No, there's no question about that. That's where the AIDS is coming from. And then some of these guys in Atlanta specifically, they're having sex with men and women, so they're cross-pollinating and shit or cross-contaminating. That's what's happening. You don't want to get caught up in that. So trust us when we tell you, straight, fast strokes, under 4 minutes, you cannot get AIDS. That is just the objective scientific truth. Trust us on this. Never doubt the wisdom.
Disinterested, distant strokes.
Yeah. I'd say fucking half stalker if you can. Your pelvises shouldn't actually be slapping together. You got to back out of there a little bit, bro. You're too far in. You're too far in.
You're getting close to the deadly waters for sure.
You don't want to be down there, bro. We're terrible. We're absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But
it's
hey,
terrible.
listen, it's
it's
just
Father's
true.
Day.
I don't make the
Father's
rules.
Day, and it's Pride and Toxic Masculinity Day.
Reclaim the rainbow. Ezra Miller did nothing wrong. This is Toxic Masculinity Pride Month, and we still don't know what a woman is. So this is where we are in society.
By the way, I felt like that whole documentary was like him trying to come out. Like the entire time I'm watching it, I feel like he just wanted to tell people he's homosexual.
Well, most traditional conservative man, woman, child types, most of them have. I mean, come on, they're of European descent. We know what Greece and Rome was about. It's deep down there in their genome somewhere. Deep down in the genome, it's in there. Like men, they don't feel like they're getting the total fullness of a sexual experience out of their wives, because these are the guys. A lot of these guys are just they're the missionary guys. They don't want to do nothing too crazy because that's my wife, that's the mother of my children. I can't have her blowing me from the back. That ain't right. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to do They want to do extracurricular shit, but they don't want to do it with their wives.
Have it with a man.
You can't get pregnant. You can't get pregnant.
Right, you're not gonna break up the family.
There's
Yeah.
no emotional connection because a dude can go get banged out of the glory hole and walk away and never give a shit for the rest of his life. Whereas if a woman was banged anonymously, I guarantee just because of her chemical profile, she's gonna be like, I wonder if he remembers me. Like she's gonna have an emotional connection to it. And of course she can wear it off if she gets fucked enough by strangers. Her pair bonding will be completely destroyed. And just like a man's pair bonding can be destroyed.
That's another question I want to ask a prostitute about the pair bonding.
Oh, they're destroyed. They're destroyed forever. They can never pair bond. A person who's a prostitute will never have. Well, I won't say they won't have a successful relationship because a lot of them can get a beta cuck male, who has fantasies of eating the leavings out of her. That's who your husband. That's who your husband is. I'm sorry. If you're a prostitute, you're a sex worker that actually fucks. Like if you're a woman who lets men jack off to your feet on OnlyFans, that's a little bit different. I think part of your mind is still destroyed because of what you're going to think about men and sex. Like you're still probably a little destroyed. But if you actually fucking men for a living, your pair bonding is wrecked. The only person you're going to be able to have a relationship with is one of those soft beta cuck guys. Nobody else. And she's not going to really be completely satisfied with him. But if she's smart, she'll understand that this is her only real option, and she'll live with him. Like look at porn stars' husbands. Look at porn stars. Porn stars' husbands are the guys who say, "Don't take a shower when she gets home from work." That's those guys. Don't take a shower, honey. I want to eat you just as you are. That's those guys. Those are porn stars' husbands. If I'm wrong, and you got a porn star for a wife, and you're not cucked out, and you're not eating from the chowder box, then come on the show and prove me wrong. But I highly doubt that there's any well-adjusted, regular dudes out here, and not just dating, because you can date a porn star for a while until the reality sets in, and you're just like, get this bitch out of here. I'm talking about married, committed to a porn star, and show me a dude that's not a fucking beta cuck.
I think you can once they're out of the business. I don't think you can while they're in the business. No.
I don't even think if they're out of the business. If they don't know, maybe. But if he knows you're a porn star, even if you was a porn star, I made 150 movies 10 years ago, and I haven't been a porn star since. Her pair bonding is destroyed. She's had 300 dicks in her. There's no way in the world you can meet a guy, marry him, and be satisfied. No way.
Well, this undermines the divine whore argument. Are there no rejuvenating waters?
They haven't been debriefed.
And exhilarating salts for her, cleansing salts?
They haven't been properly debriefed. The system doesn't exist yet. The simulation is waiting for us to do it. She's just going back out into the world with a gaping wound and looking at other men like, all right, so who's going to take care of me now? Who's going to bring me flowers?
But we're assuming that she didn't do any personal work to adjust. I agree with you. If you just go into it just as is, yeah, your mind is going to be skewed. But for anything, for anybody that has a redemption arc anywhere in their story, at some point you got to start making personal changes for yourself.
Therapy, to
change your thinking, right? So what I'm saying is we would codify it and implement the sacred waters and the rejuvenating salts. But in absence of that, I think there's people, because it's not just the women, it's the dudes too. Dudes that get out of porn have the same problem.
Oh yeah, yep.
In long-term pair bonding. So it's something that there's a lot of self-work and trauma to overcome and unraveling and rechanging your mind. But yeah, once you build up your appetite or your tolerance, you're a cocaine addict. You're a cocaine addict who's gonna have like a Jolly Rancher in lieu of it.
And also the sacred whores are giving, like, they're trained for mindful, fulfilling sex sessions. Porn stars now is getting pounded out doggy style while somebody's foot is on their head. That's a different that's a different trauma to have to walk away from and just go back out in the world. That's like a soldier coming home and shit. He's like, you don't know what I've seen. Like this, she's been bukkakied, bro. She's never gonna be the same. She's never gonna be the same.
Probably not, but you don't think in any of those situations, right, that at some point that porn star wants to be in a loving relationship. It's like, hey, the bukkake, yeah,
Oh yeah,
this was funner.
she definitely wants to be, but she's not equipped for it, right? Because when she meets a guy who's willing to do that for her, we have to assume, like you said, if she's doing therapy and all of that, maybe, but we're gonna have to assume that she can, one, she can accept it, and two, that she's actually gonna respond to it. Like, the reason that women want to be in these loving relationships is because they respond to it. When your man kisses your neck and gives you a flower, like all these soft little things that they equate to these types of relationships, they have physiological responses, right? That shit's warming her up. She's like, oh yeah, I love this. But if you've been fucking gangbanged by 10 dudes, I don't know if a soft rub across the nape of your neck is going to do anything. I think those nerve endings are dead. I don't think you can respond. Like, you need to get jackhammered for you to have an orgasm. I don't believe soft touch and slow. I don't think that shit's going to work for them. I could be wrong, but I just don't. I don't think it could work for them.
I think because you may be assuming based on men's response to sexuality. I think sex generating love inside of a woman is from a different place. It's a different kind of thing, and I don't even necessarily think that those girls a lot of times necessarily are super into the shit that they're doing. They get paid to do it, and they're adventurous, and they got a number to say, I don't really like shit up my ass, but I'll do it. I don't really like the idea of getting banged by a 14-inch penis and having 9 dudes spray my face, but you know what? There's money on the table. I'm adventurous. It's a day in the office. I think there is some degree of compartmentalization there, which is why they think, like, I can separate that, but honey, I come home to you, I love you. And most dudes don't see that. Like, they're like, no, it's too bothersome for me to think about it. Another dude just had you. That makes me upset. Unless, like you said, they're looking for the scoop. To scoop the leavings, as you said so articulately. To scoop the leavings.
I could be wrong, but you that sounds logical. That sounds like that's a possibility. Maybe they could compartmentalize it and still be able to appreciate. Because what I'm considering is like that's so far out of what would be the norm for the average happy, because the average happy couple. Because I think even women now, the ones you hear in podcasts and shit like that, the way they talk about sex, I think even a lot of them don't understand what it is to be in a long-term relationship, because they have these high standards of performance. Like, they want all of this, and like the first sex that you have with a person may be awkward. It may not go perfect, especially if y'all don't know each other's bodies, you don't know what each other wants. It may not be no acrobatic, out of this world, top tier fuckathon. That may not happen. And even when you get into that groove, that shit could happen at first, right? When you 19 years old, when you're 20 years old, you meet your lady, or you're 20, whatever, you're young. Y'all fuck every chance you get because you're young, and you just like, oh yeah, let's just screw each other a bunch of times a day. As the relationship goes on and life is happening and people are working and having kids, and like, that's not a reality anymore. And if you still hold on to that standard of sex, you're not going to be happy. Shit evolves over time and things change. So what I'm just thinking about, could a person who comes from that type of environment really settle into the reality of not like mundane or but just settle into the reality of how regular people are boning and having a good time, though. Not like, oh, this boring husband dick. Like, women who are having a great time with their husbands. For young people who are just out in the world fucking, if you saw a couple who was married for 25 years fucking, they probably would think it was boring. They're probably like, I don't know, I don't like that. Like, he ain't turn her over, he ain't flip her over 5 times and fucking. So the idea you have when you having a lot of casual sex is way different from a long-term relationship healthy sex. So I don't know. I have my doubts about how people transition into that. People who are not porn stars have a hard time accepting the realities of long-term relationship sex, because they've been living their lives getting fucked after the club, drunk off Hennessy for so long. Even that fucks you up and desensitizes you. So
absolutely. So don't get me. I definitely think it's putting the odds against you. it's making your journey a lot more difficult. I just think some people are more resilient than others, and I think what is really tied to is just a woman's ability to have everything come from a place of love. Like when it's love that's the driving animus behind it, a lot of that shit is just secondary, you know. And eventually with any person, like you said, over time people learn each other. It may not be out of the park, you know, like you said, that first time it may be awkward or whatever. Or there's instances where it's out of the park, but everything else sucks about it, but you stick around because it's out of the park, and then that doesn't work out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just feel like it's there's definitely wisdom in saying if you go down that path, it's gonna be really tough. It's
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah.
it's gonna
For
be
sure.
really tough because you've created a whole bunch of appetites. That's why with a lot of dudes, they can't stay faithful to their wives and they break up their family because you've already created that appetite. And
Yep.
once you create that appetite and just say, okay, well, I'm gonna settle down with this main chick, but you're hardwired just to constantly be hunting and constantly getting new pussy. It's tough to just be like, you know what, I'm good, I'm done, I'm happy with this person, unless it comes from a place where there's all these other things that you value about them, and value in the relationship that you make that trade off. Like I
Right.
take I take my marriage seriously and I take my wife seriously because there's other things here that I value just besides a nut, you know. So I think that is easier for a girl to do than for a guy to do.
It definitely is, and it shows a level of maturity on the guy's part. Because if you can't make that decision, you definitely shouldn't be married to somebody.
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah.
for
And I
sure.
tell and I tell women that too. I'm like, you can't force him to be with you for the rest of your life because it's not gonna be a healthy relationship.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot that people miss when it comes to that, and I think that some of that is from women and how they talk to each other. Like me and my wife laugh about it all the time too. Like we grew up on R&B songs where women saying you need to bang it all night type shit. I'm gonna give it to you all night long, and dudes saying shit like singing that type of shit in song. Like that shit's unreal. Like no, who the fuck that never happens. Nobody's fucking all night. You know what I'm saying? And like it just sets these standards. Women talk about fucking, acrobatic shit, penis size, all these different things. When then that's the ones who they more often than not, those are the dudes that they end up not having long-term relationships with because those men understand that they see themselves as higher value. Like all women heard about me, I got fucking 14 inches, I'm fucking everything that moves for the rest of my life. So those women usually end up meeting somebody different who treats them better. That dude don't have the same pipe as the other guy, but this is a better relationship for you. So the husband, it's a husband penis and there's a weekend party fun penis. Those are very different. And this is what women themselves say. This is what women themselves say, that I don't want to marry a guy who's got the fucking black mamba like that, the anaconda. But if me and my girlfriends go to Mexico for the weekend and I get a couple shots in me, tequila in me, that's the guy I want to have at the hotel room. It's two totally different mentalities. And people won't admit this to each other. They won't admit it's hard to communicate because they don't understand how to do it. They meet each other, they fuck before they even get a chance to actually establish any type of relationship. So then he's supposed to know how to do these things because, blah, blah, blah. She's supposed to know this and she ain't doing it right, so I'm going to find me somebody else. People, they just don't get it. They're missing out on such a big part of what makes a long-term relationship work: the communication, the growing, the knowing each other, getting past the embarrassment, and building the trust, and all of those things. That's what ends. Well, for people who are wired like me, anyway, that's what ends up making the encounters better over time. Like I said before, I've never in my life had memorable sex with a person that I didn't care about. That's just never been a part of my experience on this planet. I don't remember any time where there was just some frivolous random encounter and it was like mind blowing. That's never happened. It could, maybe it's happening for other people. I don't know, but that's never happened to me. Any memorable sex I've had has been with somebody I cared about. So I guess you can't assume that everybody's wired the same way. Maybe you're only going to have your best sex with strangers. You know, maybe some people are wired like that. They're like, yo, if you're not a stranger, if I know you and I've been talking to you for a while, you're not going to be able to get me off. But if I wink at you in a casino and we dip off around the corner and fuck, that'll do it for me. I guess maybe that works, but that's definitely not the makings of a long-term successful relationship.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like the argument that predated the accepting of Kinsey. Like, it sounds like, like how you were talking about earlier. Somebody made these arguments, and instead of just saying, hey, we should throw that away, nobody stopped and played chess to consider, like, if you normalize this, this is the kind of things that it could lead to. Right. Like, when you normalize, like, nah, you could just try out a whole bunch of pipes. Right. Patriarchy was wrong to you. It was cruel. It forced you to be loyal to one pipe all your life. And it's like, yeah, but it's kind of what I'm wired to be in. That's kind of, no. If you feel that way, it's not because something's wrong. It's not because there's an issue or you were traumatized or something happened. The issue is you just haven't explored your sexual revelation. Like, you haven't gone out and been as promiscuous as men have. Like, you haven't got to do that. Isn't that unfair? Like, you should be able to do that too. All right, I'm going to super duper do it, and then eventually I'll find, one pipe to be with forever. And like you said, it becomes harder after that. So it almost feels like there was already like a debauchery debate that we had as a society where we were like, nah, it's not that's something that's not abnormal, because that's the patriarchy, that you would be loyal to one person and explore with that one person, and have all these other facets to a relationship and a family and all these other things. That's kind of, that's just one. We need to kind of tear that apart. Like, that's oppressive. That's miserable for somebody. We should try something different. Yeah. And when you try that something different, what is now a whole bunch of people that have bought into the idea of totally detaching their sexuality from relationships, finding it impossible to have relationships. So that 90% of YouTube is different factions of these different communities upset at the others for why they can't have stable, happy relationships.
That's another difference. The difference between men and women in these situations is they have this thing called alpha widow. Have you ever heard that term before?
Not once ever, no.
An alpha widow is a woman who has dated multiple men in the past. You come across this one guy who's like this archetype dude. The sex is crazy. He's a little bit out of her league. He's tall, like the high demand guy, but she's not enough to keep that guy. So after he's gone, that's like the ex who got away. She's always thinking about him. Women go the rest of their lives. They marry nice guys who buy houses for them, and they have kids. And she's got a soccer mom with the minivan. But if that guy ever shows up, she'll dip off to fuck that guy because that's her fantasy. She's been widowed by an alpha, and nobody else can ever measure up to that. And the more you have sex as a woman, the more likely you are to meet this person who just bangs your shit out so good that he's not going to stay with you. He's going to fuck you up for the future for everybody else, right? And it might not even necessarily be the sex itself, but they attach this idea of the man to a time in their life. They had so much fun. He was adventurous and all this other shit. And it creates this really high standard. And she can't get a chemical reaction that high for any other man after that. So she's essentially widowed. Now, this doesn't show itself as much in men. Men aren't living the rest of their lives like, oh, that one chick that used to blow me in college, I can never forget her. It just doesn't imprint on men. Sex doesn't imprint on men the same way as it does on women, which is why it takes so much longer for the pair bonding destruction to happen in men. Is because they're just like, they don't give a shit. They're just busting off. Nobody's standing out to them like that one chick the way they stand out to women. She remembers that one guy. But dudes are like, nah, I'll be fucking everything that moves and I don't give a shit. They just get desensitized to it. But women get fixated on this one guy that they can never replace, and it fucks them over.
Never heard of the alpha widow.
Yeah, yep. This
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It really does, because this shows you that dudes are less attached to their sexual activity. They're definitely getting desensitized, but just overall desensitized. They don't focus on one woman that did it really good or one woman that got away like women do. Women get dickmatized, as they call it. They
As
remember
they
the pipe.
should.
They remember the pipe. They remember the adventure. Dudes are just like, yo, show me another glory hole.
I
I'm,
d-
I'm ready to put my penis through this hole in the wall. I don't give a shit. Fucking crazy. But hey, it is what it is. We out here dealing with some wild shit. It's some shit that we haven't really dealt with before. Patriarchy fucked us over. You know, some of the things that they installed, we have to admit, had some merit. Telling women, don't go out here and take 100 pipes. They're like, no, fuck you. You're just trying to keep me from having fun. Now they're taking 100 pipes. They're not getting married. They're not having kids. They said, what was it, 20%, over 20% of women are projected right now to be single and childless by the time they're 40. And if they have an advanced degree, it goes up to almost 60%. So the smarter you are, the more likely as a woman you are to be single and childless by the time you're 40.
Happy Father's Day.
That's a fucked up statistic, but it is what it is. Y'all will be alright. Y'all will be alright. Let's just you know.
Somebody's gonna fuck you.
Yes. Oh, they're gonna fuck you, but they ain't gonna keep you. And that's the problem. They'll fuck you. It's gonna be.
If you got money, they'll keep you.
Catch
There's
and
always
release.
there's always a thing that will get a man to stay.
Oh please, women can't.
Guaranteed.
No, they can't do it. They can't date down. They're incapable.
Guaranteed. But I mean, like if you're like a 40-year-old woman who's looking for a man, and then nobody wants to stay. If you're just gonna take care of him, he'll stay. Like,
Yeah, oh
that's
yeah,
way-
yeah.
But money is not a factor for a man unless that dude's a loser, though.
He'll live in
Like-
your house and play Xbox though, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, he'll live
Yeah,
there.
but that's
Just have to
That's not
entice him with things.
that's
Not that
not-
it's a healthy relationship, but
Yeah, you'll have some live-in pipe.
yeah.
You can.
Right.
It can happen. But he's also going to have a younger girlfriend, probably in the same neighborhood.
Probably,
But,
yeah.
you know, fuck it. That's what you got to deal with. You're 40, you're still single, you take what
You
you
know what
can
I'm
get.
saying? Just sign up for it.
He's not going to learn your love language. That's just...
Not at all. But he will remember you for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
no. Actually, he won't. He'll forget. he may make her remember him for the rest of her life.
Right. Fuck, dude. We'll fix it. We'll fix it. One of these days, the
We
world is
just
going to
live here.
see...
We don't make these rules.
Yeah, one of these days, the world is going to see our value. And I'm convinced that they're going to funnel massive pools of money and resources in our direction just because they want to see if we'll actually do what we said we were going to do, or if we're going to drop the ball and become corrupt like so many other people before us. I still say this is the best cult ever assembled for so many reasons that I can't go into at the moment, but the best cult ever assembled with some of the most consistent world-fixing ideas that we've offered to people for free up until this point, for absolute free. But the GoFundMe is coming, and the GoFundMe is for two groups of people. It's for people who believe in this cult and that we're going to do what we say, and that we have our intentions in the right place, and that we have the right tools to bring it to fruition. And also, maybe even more so, for people who think that we're just talking shit, we're going to fail, we're going to install prima nocta as soon as we get our land. If you think that's what we're going to do, I still say you should send us even more money to hasten the belief that you think is about to happen. This is how you expedite your doubt. Give us the money to do what we say we were going to do, and then you can point at us and laugh when we don't do it. These are the only ways. So the GoFundMe is coming. We got to get the right images, we got to get the right wording, and it's just going to be that. Help us build this cult. It's the best cult ever assembled, and you should help us build it just to prove that cults can be beneficial to the grander society. And that's what we're here to do. This is our calling. This is clearly, nobody's ever put together this many dope ideas in one stream of podcast consciousness. It's never happened, period. So you can go look, you can check, but you're not going to find it. We're the only ones. So send us money, send us crypto. This is how, this is the way. This is how it's supposed to go. And be on the lookout for the Cult of Dangerous Gentlemen GoFundMe. It's on the way.
I'm in Dola.
I'm in Dola. So I'm going to get it cracking. I'm going to go watch me an episode of Banshee while the house is still empty. And I'm going to enjoy the rest of my evening. Oh, tomorrow is summer solstice. Tomorrow is summer solstice, and we're having a deep summer solstice ceremony. I went to see one of my homeboys, and I think tomorrow's session is going to be 6 grams each. Me and my lady both going in 6 grams of psilocybin, 6 grams of golden teachers, which is like wow. If you know, you know.
Jesus.
Yeah, so we gonna boost
Holla at
it.
your boy. Holla at your boy. Holla at your boy.
Yeah, we're gonna be beaming out around probably around 8 p.m., 9 p.m. tomorrow evening. Solstice is actually about 5 a.m. on Tuesday, but I thought Monday would be the good night for us to slide into it. And yeah, I'm gonna report back with all the downloads. Hopefully, I'll be able to capture some dope shit. And I think this is gonna push me specifically into the next round of super efficient creativity, and I'm ready to turn up the fire.
You gotta go 9, bro. I'm telling you.
I don't know. Well, I gotta get through
Lord.
7 and 8 before I get to 9. We're
Go
gonna have
9.
to.
But I will tell you though, like, if you take it a bunch of times, large amounts won't do shit.
I don't know. Well, it depends. It depends on your intentions, I think, because I'm here for the veil piercing. I'm here for the astral projection. Like, that's why we do it. We set the stage. I went and bought a new tapestry the other day to hang in the house. We're getting the black light so we could do some black light reactive art. Like, we're gonna listen to some Alan Watts.
Maybe that's why I don't.
Yeah, we set the stage.
I just take like 10 grams and just put on the TV.
No, we absolutely set the stage and set our intentions. We meditate. We do the whole shit, and it's been working great. I think a lot of the progress that we've made over the last couple years has a lot to do with our periodic trips and how we treat the psychedelic experience. Things have just changed. Things have gotten a lot better. I've found a lot of inspiration and a lot of willingness to put in work where I kind of wasn't before. I'm just inspired just by life in general in a way right now than I always wasn't that way. You know what I'm saying? There were times when I was on autopilot. There were times when I didn't appreciate the shit that was around me in my life. I didn't see all the dope shit that I had working in my favor. And now it's totally different. You know what I'm saying? And
definitely a good therapy medicine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Definitely good.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's what's happening tomorrow. So I'll probably contact y'all from the void. So if you get a string of gibberish from me, I'll decode it the next day. But I'll definitely be reaching out from the void. I always think about people that I got love and respect for when I'm out there, because you just get this, the heart opens up and you want to say shit that sometimes is difficult to say. Sometimes it's difficult still, even with all the work we've done. Sometimes it's difficult to express yourself in these authentic ways that you feel. But when I'm tripping, I'll be like, brother, I love you. I appreciate you so much. Like, you know
it's okay. The vagina opens up. The vagina opens up. It's not a third eye. They're lying to you. It's a vagina opening up, and it's your feminine energy coming out and coming in at the same time.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. But I'm going to be out of here tomorrow night, 6 grams of golden teachers. So y'all definitely send up some powerful vibrations into the vortex for a brother.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure, gentlemen.
Absolutely, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of the evening. I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Y'all too.
Absolutely. Safe travels.
Later.
Peace.
Peace.